Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott and very much appreciate earning your listening ears as we kick off another week here on the big show. You'll notice changed up the studio a little bit. Got the map out now so that way we can put everybody on the calendar wherever you're from. Now we got little pin cushions to go on there. Haven't figured out what we're doing here yet, but we're getting there. We got nice books and dirty filth art all over the place. So you know what? It's going to be a lot of fun here. I do have to get a cleaner camera, though. I will do that, I promise. Rob G is our guest from the Social Dig. We're getting into his UFO and ET experiences tonight. And we see all of you as well. Dirty Filth is going to be by here as well. And let's say hello to everybody in the chat room tonight. We got Race Fan in the gold medal position. Pissing me off, Evan Walters takes home a silver. Mr. Eon, the voice of the gods, with a bronze medal tonight. Hi, Chris 716, Jessica, Laura Lobbs, and C-Tech. C-Tech will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. The lovely and talented Kira, who got me this lovely alien head here in Vegas. Thank you. And you'll notice your Sasquatch is way up there hiding. All right, Roy Boy, Brown Dwarf, how are you? Hi, Mama Susan. Dogface Simon, where have you been hiding? And Stephanie Kenny Blankenship. Cashew, you're back. Nice to see you. Cashew will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Kevin, what's going on? Hi, Jen A. Luscious Jules. And King Ja, official. Welcome to SOR chat. And let's see here. Who else do we have? Scrolling down, there's Dutch Hank and Mothman, TMI. What's happening, guys? Good to have you all here. Tim Mothman, how's your goatee tonight? Give us an update. Belletia, my man, good to see you. And let's continue on here and say hello to our good friend Forrest Louie, who kicks off the super chat tonight. Thank you, Forrest Louie, for the love and support. You are awesome, my man. Absolutely awesome. Love you. Sensational Sherry, thank you for joining us. And there's Science Melinda. Tony, how you doing? Welcome to SOR chat again. Tony 2013. And Blue Lightning, Ozzy, oi oi to you. John Corner, Monica, good to see you both. Richard Elmore, thanks for coming on in. As we continue on with the roll call here, Commonwealth Andrew and Kathy Evans, good to see you both. Hi, Emmy Tog and Vash the Impaler. Kurt M, good to have you all here. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Let's continue on. Susan Go, how you doing? And James Lucid, welcome to SOR chat. And let's see here. I'm not happy with Nike today. No, not happy at all. Hey, Gee, what's going on, buddy? And David S., good to see you. Skip to my Lou. Dr. Robert Steers, thank you for coming on in. Hi, Abnormal Investigations. How you doing? And let's see here. Timothy Felon, good to have you back. Hi, Peppa H. And our good friend Robert Lamoth. Paranormal Pixie, there's the lovely Lara. How I love thee. Hold on, let's get the radio side started. I got to get used to the new studio here because it's actually the old studio, but it's a new studio. We got to get Bill WD-40 into the chat room for tonight so he can lube us up for tonight's show. Nick Adkins, good to see you. as we continue on with roll call here. Vaughn Patrick, thanks for coming on in. Stu Gerson, how are you? Natalie in the UK, good morning to you. Hi, Scott Rosen. And who else do we have? Gizmo, my man. Vaughn Patrick. And who else? As we're running out of time. There's Deb. Thank you, Deb, for kicking off that super chat. Very much appreciate it, Deb. Love you, my dear. And River Dogma, notice what I got here, buddy? Notice that? Huh? That's for you, my man. That's for you right there. Oh, yeah. James Lucid, thank you so much for the super chat. Very much appreciate the love and support, my man. Very much appreciate it. 5 seconds, everybody. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. It is a great show of awesomeness tonight when we get into the UFO world. I love personal experiences. Rob G. from the Social Digg podcast is going to join us, talk about his UFO encounters. Then in hour number 3, we got a story from Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. Tim Senor rounds things out with the UFO report. Now, before we bring in our guest, there's 2 times a year I do this. And, we usually try and stray away from the normalcy of life or the abnormalcy, whatever you want to call it. So that way we give you guys a complete focus on something different to end your day, because you're hammered with social media and media all day long. And that's why we do what we do on a nightly basis. But 2 nights a year, I want to remind everybody of something very important to me. It was 5 years ago tonight, I was sitting in this chair when I got a phone call from my sister that my 29-year-old nephew, Bryce, had passed away. And the reason why this is important, because number one, I was 15 years old when he was born. Him and I grew up together. And he was my nephew galore. I took him everywhere when I was a teenager. I tried to spend as much time with him as possible. But as he grew older, he grew into a crowd that wasn't too kind to other people, shall we say. And he didn't like it. But hanging out with that crowd over the years, he developed a habit that many people are becoming statistics from each and every day. And more out there, we see these statistics happening from overdoses of fentanyl and heroin. My nephew, 29 years old, left this earth 5 years ago today. He fell asleep after taking a hit while in rehab. He fell asleep at a park bench underneath an old oak tree. He couldn't have picked a more beautiful place to fall asleep and never wake up again. I mention this to you because so many times during our lives, we walk by people on the street and we ignore them. We walk by people who are destitute and just want a helping hand. And we shun them like they are the scourge of society. Most of them are not. Most of them are people who just need a chance. Maybe it's a fourth chance, maybe it's an eighth chance, or a 12th chance, or a 20th chance. But they're trying to live, they're trying to survive. My nephew, if you looked at him, you would never, ever think that he was a quote, end quote, junkie. He wasn't. He had a problem. That isn't denial because I'm his uncle. That isn't denial because I miss him every day. What it is knowing the person that was inside trying to come out. He wanted to be a firefighter. He wanted to be healthy. He wanted nothing more than to have a family. And it was taken away all too young at 29. We tried our hardest as a family. We got him help numerous times, but the devil inside of him kept craving that horrible, horrible drug, fentanyl. And my advice to you as a family who lost is this. If you have a loved one who is cranked out on this stuff, keep fighting. You may lose, like my family did, but you may win. I used to be one of these people who would ignore the junkies when I was working in downtown Vancouver, or I'd yell at them, get a job or something along those lines. Why kick somebody when they're down? It's not worth it. Each and every one of us has the strength to help that person, even if we don't know them. Sometimes it's a simple hello. Sometimes it's a, can I buy you a hamburger? Sometimes it's, do you need a hand? Can I help you? Go that extra mile for the sake of your loved ones and the sake of my loved ones who have lost. It doesn't get any easier knowing that my nephew would be 34 years old today and hopefully cleaned up and living a prosperous life. But we don't get that because of fentanyl, that horrible, horrible drug. If you know somebody who's on fentanyl, get them help. That is an absolute killer of a drug. I don't like having to have this speech twice a year. I do it twice. Once on my nephew's birthday, April 13th, and once on the day he passed, July 17th. And I want all of you to know that if you have an issue, if you are listening to this and you are an alcoholic or a drug addict, maybe you're snorting fentanyl just like my nephew did, know this, and this is from me to you. You have value. Your life is not worthless. It is full of hope. It is full of dreams. It is full of blue skies and sunshine. You just need to get help to find the sunshine again. And believe me, it will be worth it. Because when you lose, like my family did, there's a lot of dark days ahead. And I would never want your family to go through what my family is. So on behalf of everybody at Spaced Out Radio, do me a favor. If you love this show and you are an addict, please reach out right now and get help. There's 1-800 numbers all across Canada, the United States, all around the world, and people are willing to help you. And if you go and get help and you get clean, you let me know, because I'm going to send you a present. That's what it means to me. You have value. You are loved. And there's nothing more that your family wants than for you to be healthy. And they will do anything it takes to do that. Trust me on that. It may not seem like it. It may not seem like it. You may not get along with your parents or your sisters, or maybe your parents are already gone and you're all alone. There is always someone there who will care for you. When you feel like you are alone, you are never alone. Get some help. That is my message to each and every one of you on this day of mourning for me. Please get some help because you are worth it. All right, let's continue on with our show tonight. And our good friend, Mr. Rob G, is the dynamic host of the captivating The Social Dig on YouTube. It's a fervent dedication to nurturing the positive progression of humanity, as Rob likes to call it, deep diving into subjects that we all love: UFOs, aliens, Bigfoot, Dogman, paranormal, whatever it may be. As the host of this platform, Rob fearlessly explores topics that transcend boundaries, including UFOs, consciousness, and everything else. He wants to know what's going on. He wants to take his listeners to know what is going on. And that's why we got him here tonight. Let us say hello to our good friend Rob G on Spaced Out Radio. Rob, my man, I'll get you to unmute your microphone. How you been doing, my friend?
Hey Dave. Hey Dave. Thanks for having me. First off, I just want to say sorry for your loss. And that's why I love you, Dave, because you care about human beings, and every time you give that speech, it just resonates with me. So I just wanted to start off by saying that
Thank you.
before we get into myself. But that's kind of what I'm all about. I'm all about uh, you know, pushing the message to humanity for a positive benefit, and that's why I feel like I relate to you.
Well, my man, it's so nice to get to know you on a more personal level as we will tonight. I know a couple nights ago we had you back on the show and hanging on out with us, and you were kind of co-hosting with me. But tonight it's a real time for our UFO audience, our spaced out radio audience, to get to know you and the person that you are regarding this topic. Were you always a UFO guy, or was it something that kind of popped up in your life?
Well, I'll tell you how it went. So it started out with, first of all, just to start out, I'm a musician by trade, so I'm a creative person, and I've always believed that UFOs were real. I always believed in aliens, believed there was something out there, but I was unaware that they were here. So that was the thing that I didn't know. I spent a lot of years studying on Area 51. This is prior to Lou Elizondo coming out in 2017, and once that happened, then it kind of lit a light. I couldn't believe, or I remember the headline that I read was something related to the government having evidence of material from off-world vehicles. If you remember that article, and I remember when I read that, it just blew my mind. I couldn't believe that these things were actually here. So that's where it kind of opened up for me, and then I jumped in. I did a lot of studying. All the same videos I'm sure a lot of people watched. But then down the line, I'm a person that goes out. Uh, I take long drives at night. I usually travel at night. I like to be out in the open sky. I would look up all the time, and I would never see anything. And I would be in positions where I figured I should see something until one day I did see something, and then that kind of changed everything for me. This was I was working on another show at the time, but then this kind of led me into pushing and starting my own show.
How has delving into this topic a little bit more, like you have, my bud, here, how has it changed you? How has it opened your eyes?
Well, I can say that there's a different feeling from someone that believes in UFOs or believes that they're real versus someone who has actually had the sighting. I think that's the thing that changes you. So prior to, and I sympathize with a lot of people out there because I know that's what they're yearning to get. They're yearning to get that one moment when they can say they had a sighting as well, or they had an experience. So I can tell you that, I was still pushing real hard for getting this thing uncovered, but the moment that I had my experience, it gives me what you call confirmation, and kind of changed my perspective on what what I feel like the mission going forward is, and that's kind of where we get into the whole positive progression of humanity and looking past disclosure.
Did you ever think that, you would see the day that these UFO sightings that you had, that these experiences that you've heard about all your life would actually become mainstream news?
Yeah, I mean, it like I say, back every post 2017, all the news that kept coming in, it just blew my mind to realize that this was a thing that was actually taking place here on Earth right now. And I just couldn't believe it. So I I looked at all the Lou Elizondo videos. I did my research on Chris Mellon. So I guess you could say, and I'm a good example of a person who used to be on the outside of this, but now, was introduced to it and has been brought in. So, for example, a lot of the people that we are hoping out there in society that are being awoken by what's going on, being introduced now to what's going on, and then being brought in to join the movement. I kind of feel like I'm a great example of that, because I have come, to all the way to pushing my own show where I talk about these experiences and try, to help people expand their minds on the subject.
The biggest thing that's changed in you since now you talk about it on a regular basis?
Well, I'm open now to a lot as far as the other experiences that people have. So the abductions, the cryptids and things like that. So things that maybe at a point in time in my life that wasn't on my mind or I didn't consider, I'm now I've now been open to that because I understand that the reality that we live in here is we don't truly understand what it is. So that means anything is possible. So, we can't fully wrap our minds around things like space, for instance, which is an infinite place. How can you wrap your mind around infinity, right? So, when you look at that and you understand that we have space right here in our face that is infinite, something that we can understand, then there's a whole lot here on Earth as well that you shouldn't be able to just explain away with prosaic explanations, and that kind of opened me. And that's where I found myself over here with Spaced Out Radio and kind of, introducing myself to you, the cryptid world, and everything that we have going on here.
Learning this field is very difficult for a lot of people because there's a lot of ego, there's a lot of attitude, there's a lot of people who really do not want newbies around. They don't want people treading on their territory. How has it been for you adjusting into this egotistical world of the paranormal supernatural?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because it's definitely a point that I want to make. You're absolutely right. It is an egotistical field. And, the way, if you ever watch the Social Dig, which I hope you guys do, um, we don't come across as if we know everything. I feel like this is a journey that we are all on together and we're all learning together. No one has the answer. And when I look around ufology, I see a lot of other shows that come across as if they have the answer to what it is that's going on. And I just don't see how that's possible. I think this is a learning process that we're all on. We don't understand what's going on. And the whole point is for us to get together to try to start to put the pieces together to understand what it is that that we're facing and what we're actually dealing with here.
So, what do you think we are dealing with? As we got about 4 minutes to go before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour.
Sure. Say that again.
What do you think we are having to deal with? What is the issue?
That's a great question. I mean, as far as the what we're experiencing,
The
the
entire phenomena.
well, I don't know, man. Truthfully, I believe that we're obviously being visited by beings from another world. I believe that's a thing. I don't know how far I lean into this interdimensional sort of situation, and we can kind of get into that. But I think that there definitely is a physical ET presence. I believe that they are coming here from another world, and the whole question is then what does that mean for everything else? How does that tie into everything else when we talk about the paranormal, the cryptids? Where do those things link together? And that's kind of what I'm the mission that I'm on right now to try to figure out.
It's a very difficult mission to try and get to people. But I've always said if you can reach just one, to open the eyes of just one person, it's a success. And
I agree.
I mean, you're building a following as an experiencer. What are we missing out as show hosts? Because you do both, like I am. I'm an experiencer. I'm a journalist. I'm a radio host. You're a podcast host, YouTuber, an experiencer as well. What are we missing? What are we not getting to for the sake of the public?
I think this is what I think, and I've said this on my own show before. I think that ufology should be a place where everyone is open to intertwining and interacting with everyone. And what I see in this field, in which hopefully I'm trying to change, is that everyone has their own camps. Everyone has their own group of people, and they like to keep them over there. They keep them segregated. I think that there should be something going on in ufology where we as hosts come together maybe once a month. We all bring our audiences together because they shouldn't be segregated. We should all be intermingling with everyone and sharing the information that we have, and that's how we go ahead and form that movement. I think that's the one thing when I look around and I see everyone being individual, keeping their groups individualized. I think that that's the mistake that we're making. I think we need to form almost like if you can consider like a United Nations sort of thing where all the hosts come together and bring their families together so we can push this movement as one large group.
I think that's great. And I love that idea. Unfortunately, it's quite incense and peppermints, man. I would love to see that happen.
I know.
But it really does go to show, though, that you got to be careful with whose side you're picking. You know, it's weird how we're all allegedly striving for the same thing, which is UFO disclosure or paranormal disclosure, whatever you want to call it. Yet with
Right.
30 seconds to go, we seem more divided than ever in this field.
Yeah, and it's true, and it's because there are separate factions, and one faction might not like the other faction, and you can, I'm sure, without naming names, you can look around and kind of see that going on, where they say, "Don't mess with that group. Just listen to what I say. Don't pay attention to what they're doing over there." And I think that's sad, and that goes against everything that ufology should stand for and what this movement should be about.
I agree with you 100% on that, my man. Hey, we're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. When we return with Mr. Rob G from the Social Dig, we're going to get into his experiences. What did he see that brought him into the UFO world? Why did he need more? And why did he put himself out there? It's all about aliens and UFOs tonight. The personal experience on Spaced Out Radio next. All right, my man, we're clear.
All right, all right.
Tony, just 2013. We take questions in hour number 2. You only need to ask your question once, and I've already got it marked here, buddy. So when we kick off hour number 2, I will ask your question. All right. So I just don't want you to think I'm ignoring you. I do have the question. All right. So thanks, man. Appreciate you.
And shout out to everybody out there in the chat, the whole SOR chat. I consider myself part of this family. I'm with you guys all the time, so I consider you guys part of my family too. And I want to shout out my co-host C-Tech, Mr. Mateo. I know he's out there watching. He hosts with me, and we dive into a lot of the great topics. I know random guys out there. I saw him, Izzy Beth. I saw her, Brown Dwarf, and Tim Senor, Mr. Tim Senor. I appreciate you coming through. Terry Hall, thank you for coming through. And anybody else that I missed, I appreciate you guys showing up today.
We love you around here, man.
Yeah, Dave. It's man, you're asking some great questions. President Zaddy said F you, Dave.
F you, Zaddy. F you, buddy. Zoom in Lou McGiggles. Welcome to SOR chat. And we love Rob G around here.
Thank you, Monica. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Dude, President Zaddy, I was dying laughing. I know I didn't show it on the air, but I was internally, man, I was dying laughing the other day when you called in and you were like, F you, Dave. Oh, that made me laugh, but man, made me laugh. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was.
Salute, Zaddy, salute. Oh, Jenny officially adopted. I appreciate it. That's what I was looking for. I appreciate that. You guys are family to me. And a lot of the names in here I see every night. So I'm so glad that you guys get to meet me and kind of see what we're all about.
If Jenny likes you, you're a keeper.
All right. There it is.
Hey,
Linda.
Dirty Filth. Pixie Lar is predicting a 70% chance of blobbage tonight.
Oh, and Dirty Filth.
Blob already walked by.
Honor to meet you, Dirty Filth. Just to say I love your artwork. We have to connect at some point.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to add you to the Christmas card list.
There we go. Thank you. Now I can die a happy man. Thank you.
I'm going to be building a Dirty Filth wall in my studio here.
You got enough scrap paper from my drawings to fill up like 2 walls, Dave.
I know. I love it. Boz Monster, how you doing, buddy? Mm-hmm. What do I think of the Billy Meyer case? I don't know. I mean, a lot of people have debunked him, but I really don't know. I want to believe. That's one of the ones I want to believe. Warden Dragon, how you doing? Mm-hmm. Let's see who else jumped in here. Pair of Babes. You know what? They are never wrong. They are never wrong. Look at this. Dave looking cuter than ever. You ladies aren't lying. You are not lying. I appreciate you for noticing. Charles Kerr, how you doing, man? All right. And Amy, thank you. I want to say a big thank you to Amy and to Gizmo and to Louis ×2, Vaughn Patrick, James, and Deb for the great super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on a nightly basis. Yeah, this is the original setup in the studio here. I went back to the original because I wanted to change it up a bit. And I like it a lot better. I do. I like it a lot better. And we got like 15 seconds. If you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell. We are here 7 days a week for your listening entertainment. If you could also give us a thumbs up, thumbs down. Thank you, Dry Toast, for the super chat. Here we go, everyone. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. From the Social Digg YouTube channel and podcast, host Rob G is with us tonight as we're talking about his own personal experiences with UFOs. Now, this is something that, some people want to come out and admit publicly. Others want to keep it in the dark, where they don't really want to talk about it because it freaked him out way too much. But this guy, he wants to talk about it. Rob, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Glad to be here.
When did you first see a UFO?
Well, officially, the first time I saw a UFO was almost a year ago. It was August 28th of 2022. Now, mind you, at that time, I was part of another UFO show, and, we were looking into uncovering things that were going on in ufology. So I hadn't had a sighting, and I tell you, I especially at that time, I would go out, and we have if you ever watched the 4th of July fireworks video I did, there's an overlook under the wide open sky. I would go out there all the time. Late at night, early in the morning. It's like my thinking place. And I've been in so many situations where I figured I should have saw something. And I never did. I never saw anything until August 28th of last year.
What did you see?
So what I saw, and this is the thing. This is the other thing about it. When you see a lot of sightings, most sightings are happening at night. There are lights off in the distance. They do some funny, weird things. This sighting was in the middle of the day. So August 28th, 2022, 12 in the afternoon. Perfect conditions, clear blue sky, not a cloud in the sky. So nothing to obfuscate what was being seen. And what I saw were these physical, I don't even know what you would call them. I know we have some photos of what they look like, but I'll tell you how this happened. So I'm in the house. My girl, she's outside. She's on the phone. And then she just comes to me and she says, "Come here, you gotta come outside." And I'm like, "Well, what's going on? And she's like, she wouldn't tell me. She's like, "Just come outside." So I come outside, and because she didn't tell me, I didn't bring my phone or a camera. So I just go outside, and I see this ball off in the distance a little bit. I see a ball of objects that were they were flying amongst each other like this. They were in a ball and they were flying like this, right? In a ball. So I'm like, I tell her, I say, "No, those are birds." And she says, "No, I don't think so." She said, "You can see the sun glimmering off of them, and then some of them, they keep disappearing." And so I'm looking again, and I'm like, "Oh, good. Let me go grab my phone." So I run in the house. I grab my phone, It wasn't the best camera, but I come back outside. By the time I come outside, they're out. They're out of the ball, and they're actually flying in a formation, floating, I should say, right directly overhead. So I get the camera and I start filming it, and you can in the video you can hear me commentating about what this is. My stepson is sitting there. He thinks they're birds because he wears glasses, so he didn't really have a great perspective. But I thought they were birds initially as well. So I can see them physically. They fly right overhead. They're not very high in the sky, and I can see these white balls, almost like perfectly round, but they're a little oblong. And they had each one of them had a black, I would say almost like a pipe object sticking out the bottom, and there were 47 of them that were floating across the sky. So when I start recording the video lasts maybe a minute and 30 seconds. So by the time I initially start filming, maybe 10 seconds before the video ends, they completely disappear into thin air. So as they go overhead, I'd say maybe at the 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock position in the sky, they just completely disappear. All 47 objects. Clear blue sky, nothing to obfuscate the view, and I did get it on film. Now, with that being said, I did a little research. I reported it to MUFON, which is a whole another story. But I found that the very next day in Aurora, Colorado, someone reported to New Fork the exact same objects, and they took pictures of them as well and posted them on the New Fork website. So I kind of have some of that stuff, but that's kind of how that went, just to give you the gist of it.
How did you know out of those 47 that you saw that you weren't seeing Starlink or something along those lines?
So these were, and I'm a bad judge at altitude, but I would say these things were no higher than maybe 1,000 feet in the air, if that. These things can be clearly seen feature-wise with the naked eye. So there was no doubt these things weren't way out in the atmosphere. These things were flying very low. They had no visible means of propulsion. They had no wings because initially, like I said, I thought they were birds when I first saw. But then when they flew overhead, I'm like, you can hear in the video, I'm like, no, those aren't birds because there weren't any flapping wings. And each one of them individually had these black pipe things sticking out the bottom. So, yeah, I mean, there's no way that this was Starlink. There's no way that this was anything out in the atmosphere for sure.
What were these black pipes?
That's what I don't know. But that's one of the key features that I just have no clue. And the only I call them black pipes because it's the closest thing that I could think of to what they look like. So I'm assuming, they may not have been pipes at all. But if you end up seeing the images in the video, they were they were in up and down orientation. So initially, with the naked eye, I could only see the one sticking off the bottom. But when I reviewed the footage and I slowed it down and I took some screen captures out of there, you could see that there was actually black objects sticking out the top as well. So if you can imagine like a black pipe, and then in the middle of the black pipe, just like a white physical ball, not perfectly round, a little oblong. Now, if you look at the video that I created, there's on my page, I have a sighting video that I did put together. And I'm under the impression, now keep in mind, I'm only about 100 miles from Catalina Island, my current location. I'm under the impression that these are potentially the same things that were depicted in Terror in the Sky. Also,
Great movie.
I have reason to believe that these may be the same things that were mentioned in the gimbal video where they say there's a whole fleet of them and they're going against the wind, 99.9% sure. And then we'll kind of get into the other things, because if you realize the government, in I don't know, I believe it was the UAP report from a year or so ago, where they redacted shapes. They just wouldn't tell us
Yes.
what the shapes were, right? So I have my sighting last August, and then we get to the 2023 NDAA, or no, it was actually the UAP report that was due in October that didn't get released until January, where they talk about balloon-like entities, right? So they give us an idea that there are these balloon-like entities that they're now mentioning all of a sudden, after not talking about what these redacted shapes were. Then to go a step further, so I report my sighting to MUFON in January. They come out with that report. Then to go a step further, in the hearing that they did, Kirkpatrick had, he admits at that point that there are these white sphere-like objects that they don't know what they are, that they're unidentified. So that's when everything came together for me and kind of validated what it was that I was seeing. I'm like, these are the same things that they're now admitting right here in this hearing, that these white objects that I filmed are things that they are still considering unidentified, and they don't know what they are. So that kind of validated for me, besides the fact that I saw them disappear into thin air, that validated for me that what I recorded was authentic 100%, and it should for anyone else that watches it.
And one thing that I'm very impressed with is how stoic and how natural you tell your story. There's no fudging the paperwork here. I can tell by your description, by what you saw. You're very calm. You're very uh, excited about it at the same time. You're very thorough with what you're saying. You can tell that you're not making anything up here, Rob. I mean, for you, how did you feel witnessing this? I mean, your jaw must have been, weighing about 20 pounds on the floor.
It was. Immediately after this sighting, I say to my girl, because it was me, my girl, and her son. We all sat there and witnessed this. We witnessed it disappear. No one had an answer for why they would have disappeared like that. And I say to my girl, I'm like, we just saw a UFO. Like, can you believe? And she is a person that, like, I'm sure in most households, you don't both parties usually aren't believers, or your significant other may be real skeptical, and that's how she was prior, leading up to this. Even when I was part of this UFO show before the sighting, she was skeptical about the things that we were talking about on the show. She will tell you herself that the moment that she had that sighting, it changed everything for her. It changed everything. I'm not saying she's 100% all in, but she understood at that moment that these things are real. Like, whatever they are, these things are real.
What's your conversations like now between each other regarding
Well,
this?
she's fully supportive. She's now 100% fully supportive, fully open to the conversation. Whereas before, and that was another reason why I ended up getting into doing these shows. I was part of someone else's show before I started my own show, and I took that step because I needed somewhere where I could have a voice to speak about this, because prior to the sighting, your partner, you talk about a lot of different things, but this subject was a subject that she would just be like, oh, I don't, oh, always talking about UFOs. Oh, that's crazy. And she didn't really want to interact with the conversation. And then, so that's when I took a step and became part of the show where it allowed me to get these things off of my chest. But then post sighting, now she is now a person that I can sit down and talk to about this, although I can talk a lot when it comes to talking about this, so she still can get to a point to where she's heard enough, or maybe let's change the subject. But I'm compelled and empowered to speak about it because I understand the implications of how this is going to affect humanity going forward. Like Ross Coulthard would state, this is the biggest story of human history. Like this, what's going on right now is one of those times in human history where you have a choice to determine how the path of humanity goes from here. It's one of those moments in history. You don't get a lot of those. You don't usually live through one of those type of moments, but that's what this is right now. And I realize that, I understand that, and that's why I'm so, that's why I'm so impassioned or compelled to embrace this and kind of talk about this.
Now, from what I believe of what I know about you, you were quite a skeptic of this entire phenomena prior to this experience. How has your mood changed in regards to that? Because I think you have to have a little piece of skepticism within you.
Right. Yeah.
But how has it changed your attitude looking towards it now?
Well, I'm pretty much the same. The prior to my sighting, it was more of a situation where, and I'm still this way today, where we had, and like on the Social Digg, we have a middle of the road approach where, depending on the evidence, I'll go either this way or I'll go that way with it. So just because I had a sighting doesn't mean that I'm officially going to buy into everything that's being said. I'll take your story for granted, which I'll allow you to tell your tale, and I won't say that you're lying, essentially, because I'm open-minded to the evidence. So if you tell me this happened, until there's something that shows me that it didn't happen, then I'm going to keep that middle of the road approach. So I wouldn't necessarily say that I was a skeptic, but I would say that I was open to leaning either way, depending on the evidence, which is the same as today. Now, the only difference is once you have an experience or confirmation, these things are real. So it's not even a matter of let me see the evidence to see, because you had your own personal experience that validated for you that this thing was real. So, but I still keep, and I think everyone should keep a little bit of skepticism in the way that you approach it. Ask the questions, but don't immediately disregard a person's sighting like a lot of these skeptics do. They don't even take a moment to say, oh, maybe this is plausible, or maybe, this is something that could be true. They immediately go against it because, one of the things I say about skeptics is they believe in not believing. That's what a hard skeptic does. They just believe in not believing. So immediately they disregard what it is that you're saying. And we had some of that with my sighting, and it can be frustrating because what you saw, but a skeptic will try to write it off as something like Mick West, for instance. I like the guy and I appreciate what he does for the subject, but when I had my sighting, and I think all people should do this, I put it out immediately for the skeptics to scrutinize it. I put it out on Twitter. And there were people that chimed in. Mick West mentioned my sighting, and he, without really even looking into it, he just said, hey, they're birds. They're seagulls or something along those lines. But they weren't birds. And then I gave evidence in my sighting video of other sightings where the main characteristic in all these sightings is that these objects have no sign of flapping wings, although they do fly, or if you call it flying, in a formation that could be mistaken for birds. And that's one thing I kind of wanted to point out, because it was proof for me that a lot of the things that you may see, you may immediately write those things off as birds, just like I did with my own sighting when I initially went out there to see. I'm like, oh, those are birds. Until if she would not have told me, no, they're doing something else, I wouldn't probably have walked back in the house and didn't think anything else about it. But because she said, no, they're doing some weird things and disappearing, that compelled me to take another look. And I think that's what people need to do, because these objects that I filmed, the different cases that I found where the exact same objects other people have filmed and reported, this just shows me that these things are up there all the time. These physical things that I recorded. But I think the problem is that a lot of people will do like I did initially and just say, oh, those are birds, and not look again. So I think that's, with my sighting, is the point that I want to make, and is further now backed up by Kirkpatrick saying that these things are actually unidentified. If you see something that you think is a bird, look again, because I'm feeling like these things are demonstrating something like biomimicry, right? Where I don't know if it's purposely that they're doing this to appear, to fly under the radar, essentially, and do prosaic things that we can write off as just natural. And, I don't know, something that I'm looking into, though. And another thing, the UFOs that you see at night, and they're blinking or flashing, like the Jeremy Corbell triangle video. So because it's blinking in a pattern that mimics the FAA strobe pattern, why should you, like, if you're smart enough to come to this planet and you're going to fly in the sky, if you wanted to be undetected, wouldn't you mimic other things that are in the sky if you wanted to kind of not stick out? And that's kind of just the point I wanted to make with that.
Oh, there's a lot of things that we could argue with that about, for 90 seconds. I mean, I'm in the same argument. I don't agree with a lot of these people who come out, Rob, and say all aliens are evil. They're all here to take us over. They're all here to bring us death. Tom DeLonge is like that. Peter Levenda is very much like that. Who's DeLonge's mentor. Really, if these things have been here for millennia, they would have got us when spears and bow and arrows were the top weapons of the day. Right. They wouldn't have waited till we could shoot guns. They wouldn't have waited till we went into space, learned how to fly, whatever. It's just, to me, it's such a simple argument. It's hard to fathom for me. Hard to fathom.
Yeah, that could go both ways. We had a discussion about that the other day on the show. They benevolent or malevolent, there's been rumors that there are factions of these ETs that may be protecting us from the malevolent ones. So that may be an explanation of why nothing has ever happened, because we've been protected. So, I don't know. Dave.
Well, my man, I'm going to get you to hold on right there.
Yep.
Because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. When we return with Mr. Rob G, UFO encounters. How did it change him? What does he think of them now? What does he think of experiencers? Your questions as well on the mighty SOR, so stay tuned. Hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio comes up right after this. Good job, my man. Good job.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I
Excuse
think it's something important to point out, and I talked about because when a lot of hosts have done their shows about
You coming up, Rob, or
the
what are you doing?
the Arrow hearing, the Congress with the Senate, Kirkpatrick in the Senate, and they looked at that and they said nothing burger, and I wanted to point out the silver lining to that. And there were other things that were going on with that you could take away from that and say, oh, that was good. And one of those things were for Kirkpatrick to admit that these white sphere things are things that aren't explainable. So,
Yep. Hey, bud, I will be right back.
yeah.
Dirty Filth, it's all up to you, buddy, and you and Blob right now. So
Yeah.
make sure you unmute your mic, buddy.
Unmute my mic so I can yell at the blob. Just trying to interrupt the drawing here. So, Rob G, how's your night going?
So far so good, man. I'm always super interested in what it is that you're drawing. You know, when I watch you start out, because I notice the detail doesn't come until the end. So you get kind of the groundwork laid with the water paints, and then you get to doing the definition at the end. So I'm always amazed by that.
I usually knock out the inking in about half an hour, but it's all the watercolors. I just love watercolor. It's just so fluid. And you can mess up a million times, and it's so forgiving.
Yeah, I'm not. I've worked with watercolors before, but they just don't come out right. So it's always you have to have talent to do what it is that you're doing here, and that let's make that clear. Definitely takes talent.
I can appreciate that. Thank you, but like everybody always has somebody that they see and they go, "Wow, I wish I could do that," or like there's something. And at some point, I just kind of Blob. I just kind of gave up on that, and I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take the things that I like from artists that I enjoy looking at their artwork, and I'm just gonna try to add something to my work out of that influence.
Yeah,
If that makes any sense.
No, it does. It does because I'm a creative myself, right? So, I'm a musician. I create music, and it's something that you take out of the air, essentially. So you're taking the idea out of the air, and then you're transforming it into a physical form. So I can always appreciate that, and it definitely takes, talent to do that.
That's like music. I got a synthesizer. That's both my talent. I've always appreciated musicians because they just have this extra way and they create something that it's just the sound. Like it's all weird. Sound is a strange thing. But when musicians can do that kind of stuff, that's something special. Like I appreciate that. And I look at that and I think that's just amazing. And people are like, I can barely draw a stick figure. You're good. I'm like, yeah, but everybody's got a talent of some sort, right? Mostly.
Yeah. I can agree with that. I think it's something that when some people say that you only use 10%, I think they said they debunked that, but I still agree that most people probably only use a certain percentage of their brain, and I think what separates like geniuses from normal people is they found a way to unlock and tap into that other side of their brain. I think creatives are actually born that way. And, I think everyone has the ability to do it. You just have to figure out. And some people have to use things like DMT or other things to actually unlock their mind. But I think everybody has the ability to do that.
Anyways, I'll do a Reader's Digest version of this. I had like an epiphany one time. I went to Costa Rica. It was a free trip. I was way up in Monteverde and I was sitting outside and there was a thunderstorm coming through. It was raining. It was just really peaceful. My life was just really strange at the time, and then it just kind of clicked in my head. I knew exactly what I needed to do, and I don't know, it was just, that's the best way I can explain it. But it was strange, and then ever since that day, I just continued doing what clicked in my head, and I'm sort of riding the wave of that thing. So I'm rambling. I apologize.
No,
I kind of
man.
hope that was part of what you were talking about previously.
Yeah,
Which I already
totally.
forgot.
And like I say, I can appreciate creativity, and I admire it for sure.
Martimus, thank you so much for that super chat. Very much appreciate the love, my friend, with that super sticker, along with thanking Louis times three. And Parababes, Charles Kerr, Sinister, Ozzy Ange, Dry Toast, Amy, Gizmo, Von Patrick, James, and Debster. Very much appreciate the love. And thank you so much, everybody, for supporting us. And don't forget to give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways, whatever you feel we deserve. And if you're new here, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, because we're pushing for 24,000 now. Yeah, we passed 23,000. We're pushing for 24 now. So we'd appreciate it. And here we go with hour number 2, everyone.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Abegis. Abegis is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Here we go once again, hour 2, and our guest is Mr. Rob G. He hosts a YouTube channel called The Social Digg, digging into everything paranormal, supernatural, and ufological. And we are hanging out tonight, and right before the break, Rob was telling us about his amazing UFO encounter. Saw 47 lights in the sky. No, it was not Starlink. He knows what that looks like. He knows what the difference is. And now it's kind of changed his attitude towards what people are thinking. And Rob, I want to ask you, before when you heard an experiencer's story, say being taken by aliens or having UFOs hover right above them and getting hit by that light like Travis Walton or something along those lines, what did you think then compared to what you think now?
It's a great question, Dave. I would probably, I will say that I would have considered it to be, maybe not as plausible as I do today, only because, I wasn't under the understanding. I didn't realize that that these things were actually here currently. I've always thought maybe they have come by at some time in the past. And, some of those stories may be true, some of those abduction stories, but they happened 30 years ago. So maybe they came by then. But, I just didn't understand that, no, they're here now and they're here every day. So it's not that I didn't believe those stories. It's just that I didn't believe that they were happening as frequently as people had been saying until I realized that they're here all the time.
It's hard to believe how much it actually is happening. And, we tend to right now, excuse me, focus on the whole governmental side of everything, because that's what's really taken over the popularity of UFOs. But there's a ton of people out there, man, who continue to have these experiences, whether it's their first time or their 101st time of having some sort of sighting in the sky. I mean, how do we try and bring those stories out of everyday people like you, like me, like our listeners, because those are the stories I'm interested in. I'm not so much interested anymore in what's happening politically. Why? Because we're not going to have any control of what's going on. One thing we do have control with is listening to people and the incredible encounters they've had. Where do you stand on that?
I think that goes back to the hope that that we can bring everyone together in this field to have those stories be told. Because I hear some great stories over here at Spaced Out Radio in the chat. A lot of people in the chat talking about their experiences. I've tuned into other shows where some people are giving their experiences over there. But the problem is that those stories aren't coming together. Like those, the experiencers aren't being privy to experiencers over there. So I think once an experiencer realizes that there is a collective group of experiencers that are experiencing the same thing, then I think it makes it easier for ones who may, feel like they can't come out with their story to actually take the step to do so. So, and I just think it's, it sounds, it's kind of like a pie in the sky thing. I've been told before, to have that sort of approach, but it's the only way that we're going to get to that point. So whether it's considered that, things are going to have to change. We're in a paradigm shifting moment where your normal, or what you understand as normal, has to change. So regardless on how you feel about it today, you're going to have to come to terms with you're going to have to start thinking differently.
What are those terms?
Well, those terms is that realizing, that race and things like that shouldn't divide us. So we've been set up in a society where drawing lines and taking sides is considered to be the normal. We're taught that from, as early as elementary school, where, I have school pride. So I stand for this school. This person stands for that school over there. So these lines in the sand have been, have been taught to us from childhood, and we take that just from some things that are, not as critical as being a fan of a certain team, or but the natural thing is for us to draw lines and take a side. And I think that's the thing that has to change. So we have to come to realization that regardless of the lines, that goes from being a fan of a team sport all the way up to politics, all the way up to drawing lines, borders, for states and countries and things of that nature, to get rid of invisible lines and understand that we stand for one thing, which is that we are all humanity. And, once we start thinking that way, then I think a lot of things automatically change and the perspective becomes a little bit different on now we can work together, because I don't have to choose a side. I don't have to, not knowing you, go against you because society tells me that I'm on this side and you're on that side. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what the Social Dig is all about. We always say on every show, what we do is for the positive progression of humanity. So anything that we touch, or any ways that we approach a situation or a topic, is going to be in a way to not be divisive and try to push for that. And right now it might be only me out there doing that, but I actually see you doing that. Just like I said at the top of the show, you show your love and compassion for humans and humanity, so you're doing already the same thing. But the thing is it's not much. There's not a lot of us out there because of what you said as well. The whole ego situation, and where everyone feels like they have to be, king of their castle, and not being open to allow their viewers or followers to kind of spread out and experience other things.
Well, I think part of the problem is, excuse me, part of the problem is this. We don't want to believe anecdotal stories anymore. For 50 years, that's all we've heard, or a majority of us have heard, is these anecdotal stories of people having sightings or people having encounters. And now that everybody has a camera on their phone, I think the skeptics, or the people who are fed up, are basically saying, we need more. Why didn't you take that photo? If you had an alien right in front of you, why didn't you take that photo? Why didn't you take, if you had that UFO hovering right over top, why didn't you hit record? I mean, and those are logical questions from today's day and age. I just don't think that a lot of people really understand the severity of being in that situation and the panic that a lot of people have regarding it. I mean, that's my argument, at least, for it. But I mean, why do you think we have become in ufology so angry? And I am going to use that term, angry, towards people who have had the ultimate experience.
Are you talking about just people within ufology, or are you talking about the skeptic view of why people don't record their sightings?
Well, I think it's both.
Well, like I say, skeptics. A lot of the people that get the mic or get the attention on from the skeptical side aren't those ones that are open minded. We did a show on skeptic versus non-skeptic logic, where there is a side. If you look at the whole sphere, in the middle is where you should be. You should be either in the middle, open-minded, or you should be right outside of that area where you are skeptical or non-skeptical, but you're open to having a conversation. A lot of the people that get the spotlight or the attention are usually on the outsides, which are the hard skeptical or just believing to believe sort of thing. So I think when you get when the news goes to look for a skeptical opinion, they're not picking skeptics with open minds. They're picking skeptics who are hard skeptics, who just believe and not believing, and just believe that these things can't be true. So, I think that's why you get the biggest ridicule when someone brings or talks about their sighting, and then the skeptic goes immediately to, oh, well, why didn't you record it? Well, if I did record it, and it's been proven for people who have recorded these things, that all you're going to just move the line. So you're going to say, oh, well, you did record it, but that video isn't as clear as it could be. Why is that? Or if you get a clear video, there's going to be, oh, well, that's CGI. How can we tell that it's not that? So it's always going to be, the skeptics are always going to move the line regardless of the proof so they ask for proof, but they don't really want the proof. They want, and the thing that it's going to take for them is to have their own sighting, and that's the only thing that's going to change it. But the good thing is that, we looked at a poll the other day that skeptic or the public polled on essentially did they feel that the government was holding back information from the public on UFOs. 57% of the public polled said yes. 23%, somewhere in there, 22% I think said I don't know, and then 21% said no. So it showed me that 21% of the public being polled just said no flat out. They don't think that information is being held, and those would be the skeptics. So even though you see some of these prominent skeptics get pulled into these news broadcasts whenever they need skeptical opinion, and it seems like they try to, just like the Green Streets and the others, they try to use that as, see, well, we skeptics believe this. Well, it turns out that only 21% of the public essentially being polled are skeptics. So they're the minority. So why do we even care what they say? Why is their opinion even important? As far as the hard skeptics, like I said, the open-minded ones I'm okay with, because we can sit at a table and have a conversation where, based on the evidence that gets presented, that skeptic could come and say, oh yeah, well, that's great information that you brought, and kind of bring them over here. Same thing with the believers or non-skeptics, where if they're presented evidence that makes it points out that this might not be true sighting, they're like, okay, yeah, we can let that one go and kind of move on. But yeah, that's my view on that.
Let's get to a couple of audience questions here.
Sure.
Let's start off with Tony, who is asking, why was encounters and secretive government probes taken down on the day it was to run? What's your opinion?
Okay, what is that? So why was encounters plus secret government probes taken down on the day it was to run?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that one out too.
Yeah, if you could clarify on that one, I'd be glad to answer that for sure.
All right, let's move on to the Desolate One. Ever thought the phenomena knows we want contact? Why, oh, why so elusive? I never did get that. Why so secret? How they usually appear, and we're also middle of nowhere mostly? I don't get it. I think that's part of the confusion of the phenomena. Like, I think it likes playing games like that, Rob.
Yeah, that's a tough one, because with it, I can agree with that from based off of information that I've gotten from other experiencers. But the thing is like my sighting, it wasn't elusive. It was right in your face, which was more of a question that I had. So I think at times they could be elusive, but I think at times they're pretty much trying to blatantly get your attention. So, that'd be hard to say. Why so secret? I wish I could answer that for you, but from what I can see, I think people have experienced both.
I think so too. And I think they want those answers. I do.
And Melinda Leslie asked a question. I want to see if she can clarify on that. She said, but Rob, there are huge groups that do that. MUFON, ERT, and Yvonne Smith's Zero group. So I'll give you my opinion on, I don't know about Zero group, but I can give you my opinion on MUFON. I went to MUFON because a good friend, Tim Senor, with his sighting, he advised me that MUFON handled it pretty good. They took in the information, and they pretty much came back and handled it pretty well. He was happy with the way that went. Well, I can tell you that I'm not having the same experience with MUFON, and I'm giving them all the benefits of the doubt. I had my sighting. I waited for a little while because I wanted to let skeptics take a look at it and kind of pick it apart if they would. And then right around January, so about 5 months after my sighting, I went ahead and reported it to MUFON. So that went smooth. I got my reporting number. I was contacted by a MUFON representative, who was working my case. And we were in communication for a little bit, back and forth on email, gathering information. I'll tell you this, MUFON did rule out that this had anything to do with birds, and they were aware of some of the other sightings that I had found that pretty much match up. But his initial response was that without really looking into it, just based off of I guess the what he saw, he stated that maybe they were wedding party balloons, right? So we went back and forth for a little while. I'm like, well, they don't just disappear in thin air. There's no way that that would be that. And you can look at the video and determine that that wouldn't be what that was. So we, he was like, okay, we'll look further into it, and I'll reply back to you. I've been reaching out to the MUFON representative for the last 4 or 5 months. Not a single reply. Not a go F yourself. Not a this sighting wasn't that. Nothing. No type of response or correspondence. So at this point, like I've been given the benefit of the doubt. I've sent them probably 6, 7, 8 emails just saying, hey, just checking up, trying to see what you guys see. Do you have any further information? Emails of that nature. I've reached out to MUFON headquarters, right? No response to my sighting. So at the very least, unprofessional in the way that this sighting is being handled. I have my theories on why that might be. And I think it may be related to the fact that the government did come out in that Senate hearing and state that these objects, these white sphere objects, were unidentified. And I just have a feeling that maybe someone else took the case over and my representative is known. But I can't validate it because the representative won't respond. So if you are out there, anyone who, has insight into MUFON and what may be going on there, I'd appreciate it if you reached out to me so we could get this figured out.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out here over the next little bit. That is absolutely for sure. With everything that we are kind of going through right now, as we got about 3 minutes to go or 2 minutes to go before we go to break. I mean, do you, this goes into Amy's question, your opinion of MUFON. Do you believe in them? Do you believe in their course of action?
I do. And like I said, a good friend, Timmy Bits, went ahead and, I asked him because I had not reported the sighting yet. And I was considering, this is my first sight. I had no idea which way to go, what steps I should take. And I know, I interviewed him on my show for the first time, and I kind of talked to him and asked him, and he was like, yeah, they handled my sighting really well, and I'd recommend that that'd be a good thing to look at. And I took that validation. I was like, great, yeah, okay, that sounds good. They've done well for other sightings, and I do believe in MUFON. They've been around for I think since 1969. They've but I've also heard that they've changed hands and agendas over time, and some Bigelow got involved, and so I don't know where that goes, but I believed in them enough to report my sighting to them. So yes, I would say yes.
I think, in my opinion, of MUFON, I've separated the two. There's the business side, and the board of directors, which I don't fully agree with their message. Not at all. But on the investigator side, the state directors and the people who are boots on the ground doing the investigation, I'm a big fan of theirs because I think their heart is in the right place. I think they really want to, help solve this mystery and be a part of humanitarian history when it comes to unidentified flying objects and, of course, extraterrestrial contact. Are they getting there? I think they are. I think at times they're a little confused. I think for some investigators, it's purely ego. So, I mean, it's one of those things where if, when you get volunteers, it can go in any direction.
Yeah.
That's the downfall of MUFON. But do I think it's a downfall that's going to take them down? No, hell no. They'll just replace people if they have to. But I like the organization. I do. I think there's a place.
That's Rob, why I'm glad I could. Yeah, go ahead.
Hold that thought, because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Mr. Rob G, we have him for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio, where we are going to come back, take your questions, talk all things UFO coming on up on the Mighty SOR. Stay tuned. All right, we're clear.
All right.
Trying to figure out, okay, that question that was asked said it was aimed at me. Something I posted. I'm trying to figure that out.
While you're doing that, shout out Kira. Finally get to say hi, Kira.
Yeah, Gear is amazing. Take a look at this. What is this one? Bear with me here.
You know, Rob G. Kira's like 12 feet tall. She's definitely not from Earth.
Kira is totally from Earth. 509er, how you doing? What do you got for us tonight, Phil? Let's take a little peeky poo here. Nightcrawler the stud. Look at this. Wow.
Oh yeah, it's coming together. Hypernova.
It's the Nightcrawler taking Mrs. Nightcrawler out. He tried the old love machine and he got the Hypernova.
Very nice.
None of that wimpy reptile stuff.
No kidding. Mrs. Nightcrawler must be getting ready to,
He's going. He's leaving with a crushed pelvis. That's for sure.
Crushed pelvis. Very nice. Very nice. How's Blobbert tonight?
She was up here earlier. She's currently piled with whiskey right now.
I like old Blobbert.
She's about 9,000 years old.
Yeah. But she's still pretty awesome.
She doesn't realize how famous she is.
No, she doesn't care.
Well, she's a cat. She cares about nobody. I'm lucky I get to stay inside her house.
Hi, Cecil. Hi, Gary Yoki. How you doing? Who else do we have here? Daniel, how you doing? Ian Watts from Australia, the official Ian Watts. Mark Sanchez, thank you for that great super chat, my man. How's your Hawaiian shirt collection doing? Please let me know. Yes, it was one of your shows this past week that was pulled.
Was I unmuted and swearing, Dave? I apologize.
No, I didn't hear you swear.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, for your pulled show.
I don't know. I'm having a brain fart here. Because I'm focused on this show, and I'm like, what? What am I missing? I'm like having a total brain meltdown here. Don't say it, filth. Do not say it.
Like foyer, Dave?
No, not like foyer. It's foyer. It's foyer. Foyer. Rob, are you a foyer or a foyer kind of person?
Oh, foyer. I am a foyer person. It's foyer. It's definitely foyer.
You'd have to move you off the Christmas card list.
Yeah.
Third Rock, how you doing? Gary Oki needs some swag from the website. Hold on a second. Let's go here. Copy. Paste. There you go. There's the store in case you need to do some shopping. I want to say a big thank you tonight to Mark Sanchez, Kira, C-Tech, CS, Area 51, Martimus, Parababes, Chuck Kerr, Charles Kerr, Sinister, Ozzy Ange, Forrest Louis times 3, Amy, Dry Toast, the best name on YouTube, Gizmo, Von Patrick, James Lucid, and the Debster. Thank you so much. We're going to get to some audience questions when we return here. Don't know if Derek, if he's heard of Michael Herrera. We're still learning these names, so I'm not going to ask that question here. I'll be back. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Final time tonight, we say hello to Rob G from the Social Digg YouTube channel and podcast, talking UFOs all night long. Rob, thank you so much for being here tonight. We very much appreciate your visit.
Glad to be here.
Question coming from Tony in the UK. We have established that non-human intelligence is connected to mind. If the masses acknowledge the fact that they are here, do you think the NHI will show themselves more and abduct openly in the day?
I'm one to lean to, I would think probably yes, because I hear a lot about the fact that we may be connected to them through the consciousness. And, once humanity makes that move, essentially, and this is obviously just speculation, but I would think that they would, once they saw that we were ready to take that next step, once we come together like we need to as humanity, and our minds have been opened up, then I think they would probably take that step. So, and that's with or without the government's approval.
I think that's a pretty solid answer. I really do. I don't see them taking the people during the day. I mean, it all depends on the species too. Right now, we don't know who's taking who and for why. Okay, that hasn't been answered yet. In my case, mostly grays. I haven't had the humanoid people. I haven't had the reptilians. I haven't had the mantids or the ant beings or the six-toed sloths. I haven't had them yet. I would love to, just to see what it's like. I don't know. I really don't know.
I haven't had that. I don't know if I'd be. I don't know. I don't know what to think about that one. But yeah, I think that they're waiting in the wings. They're here for sure. They're watching, and we have to make that shift. We have to show. Like I say, a lot of people say business as usual once a sighting happens. That's the wrong answer, and that's what you should hope, that it's not business as usual. Once everyone gets this confirmation, you should really hope not, because the world we live in and the way things are and the path that we're going as humanity is all wrong. And so if you have the opportunity to alter that path, then if you care about your future generations, I think that you should stand up and help make that possible.
Fully agree with that. What do you think about the situation that has people confused these days with the U.S. government and their push for what they call disclosure. Okay, I'm just not sure it is. I'm really not sure it is. And yet here we go on the 26th of this month. We're going to have more hearings once again over what? Things they can't tell the public? It's getting boring, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, with those hearings, like I said, I'd be shocked. I want them to shock me. I want them to, hold one of these hearings and actually follow through with releasing the information. I want them to prove me wrong. I want them to take the opportunity that they have right now to regain the trust of the public, or at least show good intent here by going ahead and releasing the information on behalf of humanity. But the thing is that they are it's no different than your favorite football team or baseball, hockey team. They wear their uniforms, but when they're done for the day, they go home and they're regular clothed people like you and me. They assimilate themselves right back into the public. The government is no different than that. They wear their suits and all those things up in Washington, and they're in these fancy buildings. But at the end of the day, these are just people, guys. And, they're no greater than you or I. So just remember that. Remember that when you are going into these high expectations that you have, and I think you might view things a little differently.
I love that answer. I do. Let's go to Derek here. Mr. Rob G., what are your thoughts on the government rewriting non-disclosure rules to protect information so whistleblowers will be learning or leery on coming out?
Well, here's it's not in the best interest for any government, not just our government, to allow things like that to take place. When and I'm not, and let me just say this, because I don't know if I've come across this way today or during the show, but we say this all, we have these views as well to Social Dig, but we say many times that we are not anti-government. We're not at all. So we believe that there's a place for government in this world, but you have to do right by the people, right? So, and you have to, a lot of these world powers, the key word being power, is something that they want to keep. You know what I mean? Whether that's, if you look at it, who's the power over? It's over the people, right? So in order to get you to do what it is that you do every day in this hive-minded sort of mentality, in order to keep that structure and that cycle continuing, then it's in their best interest to not allow whistleblowers to come out and give up the secrets. That enlightenment, and history says and shows that anytime you had a large movement where humanity banded together to change the way that the government approached things, it was met with disinformation, and met with a lot of pushback from the government to not allow those things to happen. Their worst nightmare is for humanity to band together. Imagine that. They look at, we hear a lot of times, Dave, you joke about, which is not really a joke, it's true, that these government entities are coming in our chats and, keeping an eye on what it is that we're doing here. I think that they're definitely doing that, but I think they're fine with the way things are now, because the movement is segregated and you have people at each other's throats. So they don't see the organized movement that we should be having here. They don't see that. So they don't see it as a threat. Technically, they're just keeping tabs on us. But once we make that humanity push, you're going to notice that they try to shut that down. They shadow ban. They do all those sorts of things whenever the people get together in numbers and try to go ahead and get something to change out here.
Well, let's hope that change happens pretty darn quick, because I like the fact that the whistleblowers are starting to come out. I do, but I have a feeling with this new legislation, it just seems like we're going in circles. 1 minute we're allowing them to speak, the next minute it's maybe not a good idea for them to speak, but we want more politicians coming in. We want transparency, but not transparency for 25 years under the new act that's being proposed. And that's what I'm saying, man. I've been saying it for months. This is why I think we're in a confirmation movement, not a disclosure movement. And I don't think Representative Burchett and Luna will be able to pull anything major off coming up in the next set of hearings. I'm wondering how they're going to be able to do that. And I hate to say it, but I really don't have a lot of confidence in it.
And you shouldn't. And you shouldn't. History has shown you, 75 years has passed. That's almost one human lifetime that they've obfuscated the facts in this situation, and you have to look at that. It's simple math, right? So if they know they can kick the can down the road, and each time a year passes, it's just simple math on how many times they need to do that, as far as putting a strategy together to get you off of the path. So right now, the previous generation, we had the Stanton Friedmans, we have the Linda Moulton Howes, we had every but one who was part of like the original Disclosure Project and the Citizens Hearing for Disclosure. So what did they do? They are waiting for a lot of those people to die off, and then effectively killing the momentum behind what the movement to push for all this. And so now, current day, we have a new movement, and guess what the plan is going to be? The same thing it was for the first 75 years, to kind of push us and do things to get us to spend our time with what I call the great distraction, which is waiting for on their every word to see if they're going to give us disclosure or not. They know that they're not going to do it. And the problem is, like we talked about last show, is that there's so many people who are hanging on their every word, waiting for it. So they, like I said, simple math. You go ahead, kick the can down the road a few times. Now this current movement that we have dies off, and then it happens again and again and again. So the thing that needs to be different is the thing that was the same from then till now is that everyone has been waiting for the government to disclose information. That's the one constant from the beginning of this cover up all the way through today. So what that tells you is something has to be done differently this time. And that's where we need to come together. So we'll figure that out. That, like I said, that's what my show is about, is trying to put those things together, put together the plan on how we can get everybody together. And I think right now we have Social Digg, we have Spaced Out Radio. So those are two shows right there. And there's a few more out there that maybe we can get those shows together, and then get our audiences together and figure out, how we can do things differently. Because like I said, it's a lot more of the same at this point.
Yeah. And it just seems to be going around in circles, and to watch people, try and decipher and pick up the fragments of this conversation. I mean, remember, there's only, coming out of these talks on the 26th, there will only be maybe 1 to 2 sentences in that entire time that they go public where we will actually be able to get some news.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's all until the next report or the next hearing. And what is that? 6, 8 months, 12 months later, another year passed. Same thing. That's the plan. That's the trick. And we have to, as long as we stay segregated and complain from our couches, behind our keyboards, behind our computers, tweeting, instead of doing like they used to do back in the day, whenever there was a civil movement, a civil rights sort of situation where human rights were affected, what did they have to do? They had to get out of their houses. They had to go down to Washington, D.C. in numbers in order to get the needle moved. And this is no different. This is a humanity, a situation that affects the well-being of humanity going forward. So this is no different. You know, obviously it takes money and coordination to be able to structure something like that. But I forgot the YouTuber the one who showed up at the hearing with Kirkpatrick and Gillibrand, and was able to interview Gillibrand. More movements like that. He got up off his couch and went from Tennessee to Washington, D.C. in order to have his voice heard on this issue. And we need to do that. And history has shown that that is the only way that we as humanity are able to get the government to hear what it is we have to say, and then affect change from that. So get up off your couch, myself included. You know, my show is that's a place that we want to go. Obviously, my show is not a monetized show, so anything that I do is going to be on my dime. But you know, I intend on being not just talking that, but being that. So and I want to set an example for others as well. I mean, we have to figure out a way to, if you want to involve the government in this confirmation process, if you want them to you know, still take the charge or take the lead after all this is said and done, then you're going to have to go up there and talk to them. So history has shown that's what it takes to get the needle moved on issues that are this important to humanity.
I just want consistency. And I'm sure that's not a hard thing to ask, but it just seems like, you know, I mean, you look at inconsistency since the abolishing of the ATIP program. We've had about 7 different names to what it is today, Arrow. We've had a bunch of politicians come and go, jump on the bandwagon, jump off the bandwagon. You know, where's Mark Warner? He's the guy who started this and got Marco Rubio involved. Where's he all of a sudden disappeared to? Right?
Yeah.
We have certain senators fighting for, you know, the secretization of this because they want this stuff to stay under national security, while talking out of the other side of their mouth saying, well, we really do want the public to have a right to know. No, it's not going that way, because your big bosses in the military organizations said no. So, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how it all changes. If it isn't going to change,
No.
What is the purpose of the continual tease of these negotiations or hearings, whatever you want to call them?
Yeah, the tease is to not allow the movement to happen. So, you know, if they which they do understand, they feel that most of the public is comfortable with waiting for the next hearing or waiting for the next report or waiting for. So as long as they have that control over not allowing a movement to happen. So if you have any hope, you know, if you're like, okay, yeah, one day this might be it, this next report, this next hearing, this one might be it, then you're less likely to use your time to come together with everyone else to force the movement to happen. And that's kind of what it is. And that's where the divisiveness comes in, because there's so many people out there, and I've looked around and just to kind of point to that, you know, prior to me being a part of a show or even starting my own show, you know, I was in the chats with everyone. I would talk to show hosts and I would ask them, what is your mission what is your show's mission once disclosure happens? Say disclosure happens tomorrow. Does your show end at that point, or how do you push the issue going past that? None of them had answers. And so it just showed me that there's a lot of UFO politics going on where a a lot of hosts are backing the idea that you should be waiting for the government to give you an answer, and that circumvents what it is that we're trying to do. It goes totally against getting us to the finish line if show hosts are focusing and having their audiences pay attention to these politics. It's just insane that would be the outlook and the position that a lot of these shows have. And I just don't get it. I just don't get it, because we understand, just like Tim Burchett told you. Tim Burchett told you that they will not be releasing any information. He told you. He tells you every time he gets interviewed that if you're waiting on Washington, D.C. to get this done, it's not going to get done that way. He told you as well, if it's going to happen, NDAs are going to have to be broken. People are literally just going to have to break their NDAs and come out. Because if you're waiting for the normal process to happen, it is not going to happen. You know what I mean? And I think it's a disservice for a lot of those shows out there, without naming names, but I hope they are watching this. You have to change your message. Quit having your audiences focus on politics and selling this dream that the government is going to give you this answer, and help redirect the focus, and that's where coming together with these hosts, so we can talk with each other and let's talk it out, so we can figure out the best way to move forward. But stop waiting on these hearings and hoping that this next one is going to be the one that breaks it wide open. I hope icing on top of the cake would be if they did that, and hopefully someone within the government, since they do watch this show, Dave, and you can be bought, right? You can be bought. So if they're watching this show, just understand that you can affect change as well. You can go ahead and step out and be that one who I guess they call them martyrs in some cases, where you step out and you take a hit for humanity, and I agree with Tim Burchett. He's really keeping it real when it comes down to what he's in the Congress, he's in Washington every day. So he's telling you, and I think a lot more people should listen to what Tim Burchett is saying.
I think Tim Burchett, to sound a little bit more positive going into these hearings, I think he's a wild card. I really do. Yeah. And I mean that in a positive way. And I hope he goes in there and he stirs it all up. I don't care for the guy's politics. I care about his UFO opinion. And when his UFO opinion aligns with mine, I'm like, hell yeah, dude, go get him. There's been too much cover up, too much backstabbing in this. And, and hopefully he could be the guy who brings the subject more forward. We'll just wait and see.
I hope so, because I'll be the first. And obviously, a lot of people are going to do shows right after that happens. And I would love to be like, they did it. You know what I mean? It's they did what they were supposed to do for the people. I would love for that to be the conversation that I get to have. So I'm always optimistic, and but I'm a realist as well. You know what I mean? And I think giving them the benefit of the doubt all the time. I mean, just take it with the greatest salt. Hopefully they do. It'd be great. It'd be a great day for this, thing that we're dealing with. And truthfully, with all the money that we've poured into these black projects, all these tax dollars, we're going to need some of that technology or whatever it is they are developing to kind of push what we're doing forward anyway. So we have to work together. So hopefully they do.
Rob, quickly here, tell everybody where they can find the Social Digg.
Social Digg is right here on YouTube. It's the greatest underrated show on the World Wide Web. We have that pro-humanity approach. We can get spicy sometimes. You can find us at youtube.com/@MrRobG. My co-host Mateo's out there in the audience. Come by and check us out.
Rob G from the Social Digg. Make sure you go hit subscribe on his channel. Coming up next, we're going to have a great story from our good friend Steve Stockton. Then our resident Timbit returns for the UFO report. Great job, Rob.
All right.
Great
Thank
job.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
You were amazing, dude. Love you, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. So so I guess I'll just hang out in the back and I'll watch from there, man, and get in the chat and go from there.
Well, if you want to stick around and join little Timmy Senor and I for the UFO
Oh,
report, he's giving a thumbs up.
I would love that. Heck yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I'm going to put you in the back here, and I will be right back here, guys. Okay. Here we go. We having a good time tonight? Everyone? Good stuff. Good stuff. Hope you're enjoying this as much as I have. Joey Zed, he's giving his horns up. So is Gizmo. Good job, guys. Look at little Timmy Senor. He's waving away here. He's got like a fly or something there. Thank you to everybody who has hit subscribe. Hi, Eva. And hit up the super chat tonight. We very much appreciate it. Here comes hour 3.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Abegis. Abegis is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Steve Stockton joins us once again for another great edition from Among the Missing.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. There are ongoing discussions on social media platforms like Reddit regarding disturbing rumors about feral individuals who engage in cannibalism in real life. The case of Dennis Martin is still a topic of conversation, and many TikTok users have expressed recent concerns about the number of people missing in national parks. Now, there are people that enter the national parks in order to escape the law or to even start a new life. However, these individuals are not wild or feral people living in the wilderness. They're just regular people trying to avoid being found. Some people may seek refuge in national parks to escape abusive or dangerous situations. Here are some factual statistics about national parks to alleviate concerns or dispel myths about these individuals. Every year, national parks witness about 1,000 deaths that could be attributed to falls, medical emergencies, vehicle accidents, or drowning. Out of these, drowning is the most frequent cause of the loss of life. Unfortunately, around 30% of these deaths are a result of self-harm. Although homicide is responsible for a few park deaths, such incidents are rare and usually involve known individuals. Parents or caregivers may abandon children due to poverty, mental illness, or fear of punishment for having a child out of wedlock. As a result, these children are left to fend for themselves in the wilderness. Additionally, children may become lost or separated from their families during recreational activities in parks, only to never be found, which forces them to adapt to their new environment to survive. There are even numerous tales about wild people and UFO sightings in American national parks, but their authenticity is questionable. Most missing persons can be attributed to injuries, health issues, or simply getting lost. It is possible for an individual or a group to hide for a long time in various locations with access to vital necessities, such as food, water, and shelter. The Nantahala National Forest in western North Carolina, that spans over 533,000 acres of wilderness, and it served as a hiding spot for one Eric Robert Rudolph, also known as the Olympic Park bomber. He remained undetected by the FBI for 5 years, moving along the Appalachian Trail towards the Great Smokies. Rudolph was eventually caught in 2003 when he ventured out of the forest and was seen by a rookie police officer rummaging through a trash dumpster in Murphy, North Carolina. The officer recognized him from the FBI's 10 Most Wanted list. Now, if this man, with only minimal survival skills, managed to survive undetected for years, imagine the crafts of someone who never left these woods in their entire life. As a possibility, it must be considered. Cases like this, hearing rumors of the wild men and cannibals and families of people living like this their whole lives, makes us question humanity as a species. Did societal norms and what many consider socially acceptable behavior actually take away our instincts and human nature to survive in the woods?
Well, that's what we love him for. Steve Stockton, once again, coming in with another great story here on Among the Missing. If you want more, all you got to do is head on over to his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Among the Missing, and you'll be right there with all the other great stories that he has. So make sure you hit subscribe on that. From the missing to the mesmerizing, here comes little Timmy Senor and the UFO report.
Nobody's gonna know.
They're gonna know.
Here he is, the man, the myth, and the legend, Tim Senor. And of course, we have our good friend, Mr. Rob G from the Social Digg, sticking around for the UFO report as well. Thank you, Rob, for sticking around. And thank you, Timmy, for joining us once again, because it's only about 72 hours before you're on Canadian soil, my man.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I have not.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird, wild stuff trekking up there looking for the big hairy man. Not you,
It is.
Dave.
No, we're going to go find our own Rob G up here in the forest. Very beast that he is.
Man, I wish Rob was coming with us.
That'd be fun.
Maybe next time.
I need a bodyguard.
Yeah, I heard somebody said something about Tim being a sleeping bag burrito or something along those lines.
Tim Bate.
We have Samantha Mowat, who will be the bodyguard for Tim. Samantha's only about 5'3", about 110 pounds soaking wet.
Unbelievable.
You know, but I'm looking forward to it. Tim, we bring you on though for the UFO news, and there's a lot of stuff going on right now, man.
There's
a lot of stuff. Tell us about this new amendment.
Yeah, and you and Rob have been covering the news really well. Thank you for doing so, Rob. You're just stellar, sitting in the UFO passenger seat and also as the captain of the UFO ship. Thank you so much for covering. It's been really fun watching the UFO report with Rob G. That I enjoyed. So,
No problem, Tim. Glad, big shoes to fill. Glad I could step in for you, man. You stepped in for me a lot of times too. So, got love for you.
right on. Well, it's going to be fun again. Excuse me. We'll have some fun tonight. So,
Let's do it.
you guys kind of covered it a little bit, but we're going to talk about the New York Times article here with the headline that bipartisan measure aims to force release of UFO records. And so legislation being backed by Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, would create a review board to declassify documents related to unidentified aerial phenomenon across the government. And so Chuck Schumer of New York, the Majority Leader, is pushing legislation to create a commission with broad authority to declassify government documents about UFOs and extraterrestrial matters in an attempt to force the government to share all that it knows about UAP. And so the measure offers the possibility of pushing back against the conspiracy theories that surround discussions of UFOs and fears that the government is hiding critical information from the public. And so Schumer will introduce as an amendment to the annual defense policy bill, has bipartisan support, by the way, including that of Senator Mike Rounds, Republican of South Dakota, Senator Mark Rubio, Republican of Florida, and they have both championed and campaigned towards legislation that has forced the government to release a series of reports on UAP. And so on Wednesday, the chamber, including a narrow measure in its version of the annual defense bill, that would push the Pentagon to release documents about UAP. So I think this is a great push. We've been looking for something like this. Will it bring forward any historical documents related to UFO? Would it be more evidence? And is it something weighty enough to swing Congress in any kind of accords in their belief on whether they should spend more to look into this deeply, or if this is going to be enough to change some minds? And then what's next? But I think that this is a great push. I'm definitely in massive support of this measure because it'll be interesting to see what kind of information they uncover and how much of it they make public. So, Dave, why don't I let you kick this one off? I know you touched on it briefly. I'm rather enthusiastic. I'm sure you're about to quell that, but please, your opinion.
Well, you're kicking off the week on a tough one right here. I will say this. I will say that when it comes to the government, I'm very happy that this is becoming more and more of a bipartisan issue. Okay. Like even recently, Tim, you and I talked a couple months ago, where even on Twitter, there were people saying that if you support one side of the ledger, you shouldn't be involved in ufology. And now we're seeing the big boys and girls step up to the plate saying that, this is a bipartisan effort. This is something that affects every American, doesn't matter which party you affiliate with. That's the good news. The good news is that they want to start bringing out more information. I just don't think whether you're Chuck Schumer or you are Congressman Tim Burchett, who really doesn't have a say in all of this, okay, because defense budget and the defense spending has nothing to do with what he does in Washington, D.C. I'm positive that the reactions that this is starting to cause is going to start blowing up a little bit. Okay, it's going to make people take a look and see if there is anything there, whether they're deniers of it, whether they don't want to talk about it. And the other thing too is this is going to spread around the world, okay, because it's going to force other governments to ask the question, do we have UFOs? The big thing that I did notice with Chuck Schumer's last statement is the fact that he, and maybe Tim, you noticed this too, because I brought this up with Rob G the other night, is that he separated UFOs and UAPs. Did you notice that too?
I did indeed. And he also tends to kind of come out and state that the American public has a right to learn about not just the UFOs, but the related technologies.
Yes.
I find that incredibly bold statement.
But I mean, we're starting to see more and more of this, Tim. Like everybody wants to be on the side of the up and coming, or the popular side of everything. UAP this, UAP that. Great, you're going after man-made objects, because even the politicians are calling them UFOs. They're not calling them UAPs. The odd one does, like Marco Rubio. Okay, but the majority of them are calling them UFOs. Not because it's easy, not because it's been there, because they know there is a difference between what is man-made with a UAP and what is not. And I hate to keep bringing back that argument. I hate that. I hate recycling old stuff. But the fact is, when it comes up, we have to bring it up. We have to. The other thing, too, with this information, though, is there is a timeline on it, Tim. There's a 25-year timeline for disclosure of what information that they have. That's the same thing as Donald Trump when he was supposed to release the JFK files. And he released about 95% of them, but the 5% of the juice we didn't get. And it's still a mystery today. So does that happen when I'm 75 years old? Okay. And Donald Trump is running for his 17th presidential campaign, and Joe Biden is still, falling asleep every 10 minutes. What happens then? What happens then? I don't know.
Well, I'm very interested to bring Rob in and hear his opinion, although I did hear a little bit of it briefly. I'd love to go in depth with him. But I would hate to also see the topic of disclosure or transparency become a political platform. And I hate to see this time of year certain politicians coming out and saying that they're listening to the public and this is what they want. But then when it comes time to cast their vote, they suddenly become silent and don't even understand the difference between UAP and UFO. But Rob, I'd love to potentially bring you in on this. What do you think about this push to try and declassify government documents to try and force the hand and show Congress that there is a history here?
Yeah, I'm going to be optimistic. I'm just glad, just for starters, that we're having the conversation and that we have, like I stated the other day, with Schumer being the most senior person in the Senate, that we're actually talking about this. There it may be pie in the sky as far as the promises that are being made, but only time will tell. I mean, the best thing we could do at this point, and the only thing we can do really, is to wait and see how this plays out. But I am at least optimistic because we have more and more people in the Congress and the Senate that are willing to make a push, have the conversation. Now, whether it's all politics or not, I guess we'll see. We'll soon see. So, yeah.
And can I just follow up briefly? And Dave, I'd love to get your input on this too. While we're on this topic, why do you feel like it's important for this topic to be in front of lawmakers? What is it that, in best situation, even if they accepted this as a reality, what is the best thing that we could expect from Congress as a result?
Well, I think the best thing that we could get is support about bringing the information forward. We have not yet, Tim, seen the military industrial complex come out and talk about this yet. I would hate to be one of those senators or Congress people who comes out and gets the phone call and says, "Hey, you remember when your last election we moved the tires from the F-35s to be manufactured into your states, and it employed 640 people. Really hate to see that contract head back to Detroit, Michigan." I think this could lead to a lot of posturing. And, I always hate to sound critical or negative, but I'm trying to find the positive of what can happen here. But there's so much glowing negativity and what ifs with all of this. What if we don't get the truth? What if they talk again behind closed doors and don't give the public anything? What if the military industrial complex comes out to play? That's what goes through my mind, is what if all of this happens? Is it great that they're talking about it? Yes, of course it is. But what is the course of action to talk about this subject if you're not going to release what you know? That's the hard one for me, my man. They don't want to release anything. They want to keep it all behind closed doors. Why do you get to know? So you're saying, Tim Burchett, if you're going to have these closed door meetings on the 26th of this month with Congressperson Luna, and you guys get to hear all the juice, I elected you to speak for me. I elected you to be my voice. I didn't elect you to be my noise-canceling headphones. And that's what bugs me about all of these hearings is why is it so damn public? Like, look, we know David Grush went and spoke in front of the hearings. We didn't learn about David Grush from the hearings. We learned about David Grush because he came out on his own for whatever reason he chose. And of course, due to his NDAs, he was briefed on what he can and cannot say. He wasn't elected. He chose to do that. Yet the elected officials who are put there to be representatives of the people are the ones who are talking tough, yet are the ones holding the most secrets. Where's the fairness in that?
No, you're absolutely right. And I do think that potentially a lot of the secrets are, still well hidden in private industry. And I know we're coming up on a break here in a couple of minutes, and we're going to ask some of those hard questions when we come back. And I've got a couple of stories that may lead us down the path to truth on some of this. But I am very much open to talking about what Ross Coulthart has recently brought forward, where some of the evidence is potentially hiding in very plain sight. And if that's the case, then, where is it? And if Raytheon does have something interesting, at some point their feet are going to be held to the fire, and they're going to either have to bring it forward or it's going to be demanded. And if by the time we get there, they've hidden it, where are you going to hide something like that, and how?
Well, there's a lot of questions that go along with that, though, Tim. Okay, if let's say Raytheon has bits and pieces of crash retrievals, how did they get them? Why did the U.S. government give their property to a private firm? Why? Because normally they do that for one reason, to keep it out of the public, because private companies do not have to speak publicly about their relationships with the United States government. And if Raytheon, being part of the military industrial complex, has any say about it, wouldn't you look at somebody like Tim Burchett in Tennessee and say, hey, Raytheon, if we've got 240 employees, do we really need that place there? Can we get that done with some budget cuts and maybe move some of these families out of Tennessee? If I'm a military industrial complex company, I'm looking at it. I ain't speaking. Hold on, guys. We're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour as we got another 30 minutes of the UFO report with our good friend, little Timmy Senor, and Mr. Rob G from the Social Dig hanging on out with us still. He wants to go the distance. He wants to know what it feels like to do 3 hours of SOR. His red chin hair getting redder by the minute. The UFO report continues with Tim Senor next on the Mighty SOR. Stay tuned. Hello, Coley. How are you? Who else has jumped in here late? Eva.
Rob, it's so cool hanging with you.
Oh man, it's so cool being here. You know what I mean? It's a little, and it's different because You know, I'm usually obviously used to hosting,
Yeah,
but to be a guest is a little different. You know, it's a little
right.
different.
And Mateo would be sitting where Dave is sitting usually.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
He's better
Mr.
looking than me.
Mattel.
That's why I couldn't have him on.
it's pretty tough to beat those Mateo looks. Actually, I'm with you on
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Where is he at?
Oh, he's
Yeah,
there.
you know, because he's on the East Coast. He's on the East Coast, so
He's
for
staying up.
him it's almost 3. Yeah, yeah. He's representing for the Social Dig, man. I appreciate you, Mattel. You know that.
It's good stuff.
Very good stuff.
Yeah, Rob and I talk all the time. We were actually just talking the other day about some pretty other level stuff. It's fun. I love
Mm-hmm.
the way your brain works. I really do. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, sometimes I'll come at you one way. By the end of the conversation, I'm like, I never thought of that, and I'm all turned around. I'm like, I got to start over.
That's what a good conversation does for you. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It goes the same way. You've brought some things to me where I'm like, whoa, I'd never considered that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's why we have such a great time over on the Social Dig. You know, it's always great when you're over there, and we got to get Dave over there here sometime soon. I got a list of questions for you, Dave.
that's a
I'm
Oh,
gonna
great
put
idea.
you in the hot seat.
I don't have any answers. I am just I am void of answers right now. Void of answers.
Yeah, I got
Give
some.
him a week or two.
Dave, what do you think are the origins of Sasquatch?
I don't think they're human. I don't think they're man-made. I don't think they're earthly.
Do you think that they're terrestrial creatures?
No,
No.
no,
Okay. Do you think they're visible to everyone?
yes. When
Okay.
they want to be. When they want to be.
Okay. Okay. Do you think, in your
Look,
experience,
drill me here. Go ahead.
that these Sasquatch, these ETs, cryptids, paranormal, do you think that they're all linked?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. And are they linked to the human consciousness? Do you think?
No, they're connected to the phenomena which the human consciousness is a part of.
Okay. All right. Well. Okay. Love it.
Top 3 things trending on Twitter right now. On my side, disclosure, UAPs, and Grush.
As it should be.
What do you think about that, Timmy? Timmy.
Typical. Typical. Crush has been trending for quite a while. Yeah,
Timmy, what do you think of the new look of the studio?
I'm digging it. I like the angle. This is your original view,
Mhm.
right?
Yes. The original
digging
view, with the exception of the alien face, courtesy of Kira. And I put the our little pin board up finally, so that way we can start marking where everybody is from.
Hey, that's cool.
It is. Yeah.
And this side here, I got to get a spaced out radio logo made.
What if you're not on that map?
Then you go to, the ice wallet of Antarctica, right?
I was just gonna say, wouldn't it be cool if you could point off screen? Here's where I'm from, right over here.
I am from
Exactly.
right here. Right
Oh
there.
yeah, that's pretty
Ah,
good. That's
yep.
some good pointing.
Sure is.
He's got it down.
Mhm. Sweet Tony D is from right here. Aussie Ange is from right here.
Her name is a dead giveaway.
Yeah, let's see. Who else can we put? People from Texas are right here.
You're just tickling the U.S. under the chin right there.
And then Kira from Oregon is right there.
She's right above me,
Yep.
who is also in Oregon.
Les Paul Holland from Australia is from right here. All right, we got like 5 seconds. Hold on, guys. Here we go. Second, the last segment. I think that the last segment of Spaced Out Radio. Don't know where the heck I was thinking of. Sorry about that confusion there. But you know what? We're going to continue with the UFO report right now with little Timmy Senor and from the Social Digg, Rob G. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Timmy, bipartisan measures aim to force release of UFO records. Are you buying this?
I mean, I'm in. I hope that we get something interesting. I would just like to hear the final word on Roswell. Let's just get, the facts straight. I think that would be great. Then we can move on. And, I feel like that's the sort of thing that we need to be able to put a pin in. If we're going to, let's start at least there, right? Let's go to 1933 since Grush brought it up. But I think Roswell's the big one because, we can determine a lot from that. If that was a real crash incident, then there's craft involved and bodies involved. And then there's the whole cover up that they need to talk about. So, I think that's pretty massive. I'm definitely looking forward to that, and hopefully they make it public.
Well, let's see if they do. I mean, will they make it public? Rob, are you thinking that we're going to see more of it come in public?
So let's just go along with this, and assuming that this is the plan, they're definitely going in here to release information. I would think they should. Roswell will probably be one of the easiest ones to validate, since they've already told us that they retrieved crashed discs, and that we are under the impression by witnesses that they have also taken bodies. So that should be the easiest one to confirm. But there's a long list of other ones that I think they should definitely release as well. So I understand this is their intent, but I guess we have to wait and see if this is what they're going to actually do. Is this one of those kick the can down the road moments where we're just waiting for them to do this, or are they going to actually come through with the data this time?
Well, the question is, what is that data? Because here's the problem. Everybody wants something different. Tim, what you want is different from what I want, which is different from what Rob wants, which is different from these politicians, where the majority of them that are getting into this subject are still very, very virgin to this subject. They don't understand crash retrievals. They don't understand ET contact. They don't understand what pilots mean. Now, I think Tim Burchett has done enough homework to understand where he is sitting there saying, open the doors. We got aliens. We need to open the doors to let the public know we got some aliens. Because he's pretty much said that. But the majority of them do not. They don't get it. They don't want to get it. They don't understand it. So the question is, when we talk about a disclosure movement, whose disclosure? It ain't my disclosure. My disclosure would be exactly like Tim Burchett's, which is open the doors on everything. We have a right to know. Not just as Americans, because I'm not American, but as people of the world. We have a right to know. Your thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I think we know. I think we know, and yeah, disclosure I think is another word for the government to finally just be truthful. I think that's more of what disclosure is, and not necessarily the confirmation of extraterrestrial presence, but more so of the government being able to redeem themselves and show that they can tell the truth, and that they have our best interests at heart, and they care about where we go as humanity. You know what I mean? I think that maybe we can, just like they tried to rebrand UFOs to UAPs, we could rebrand disclosure as them disclosing in the information to show that they can be truthful and they can be, care about humanity.
Timmy?
I like that. Yeah, that would be great. I do think disclosure has changed, and I feel like that term has been, rebadged, if you will. But I feel like it's changed to more the terms and conditions that have been outlined by our government, not so much by what the public deems disclosure. Because if they think that, very blanket statements from whistleblowers without any kind of evidence at all, other than just vague statements on things that exist, that's really not going to be good enough. And that's not disclosure, right? That's actually counterintuitive to what disclosure is. Disclosure would be now revealing all those details and how you got all of the information and your sources and things like that. So I think we need to be very careful that we don't let them decide what disclosure is, because I think that it won't be what we consider disclosure. But I think that, moving forward, some of the things that we're seeing, the House oversight hearings on UAP, I think that's going to be helpful. Hopefully, what we do see are some whistleblowers that do come forward, or maybe Grush again, being asked some questions from a panel, not just Representative Luna or Burchett, but maybe others, even some public questions. That would be great. But, that I think is really tough. It's tough because we don't all agree on what disclosure is at this point. And definitely whistleblowers is not enough. We need witnesses, the firsthand witnesses too, at
Let me
least.
ask you guys something, if you don't mind. Tim Burchett is known as an extreme right wing politician, Republican. He's very anti LGBTQ plus. He's very anti abortion. He's very anti Democrat. He's very anti woke. He's very outspoken. He talks politics in one hand with the Holy Bible in his next hand, and this really rocks a lot of people the wrong way because a lot of people believe that the church and state should be separated. Okay, and yet here he is, literally going on the most wokest platform he can in ufology by saying, open up the doors to everything. Where do you guys stand on that? Because I know there are people out there right now in the Twitterverse who wish that he would go away because his political values are so not what ufology needs.
Yeah, I think really he's chosen this as a platform simply because he believes that the American public has been lied to. And he says that over and over and over. And it not isn't necessarily just this topic that he feels like we've been lied to about. This just happens to be a platform that he feels it's really been buried, and it's pretty deceitful because it's got a long line of abuse and dollar abuse, and I think that that's really been his biggest platform. But what do you think, Rob?
It's always tricky when it gets into politics. Now, here's what I'll say. I think political views aren't necessarily how a person really feels. I think that those are positioned with agendas in mind and for political movement. But I think something like what he's stepping up against with wanting this disclosure or wanting this information to be released to public is the actual human emotion. So I think that's a human emotion, but I think political views are not necessarily personal feelings. You understand what I'm trying to say with that?
Yeah.
I think so. I think so. But unfortunately, there are people who can't seem to let that go either.
Yeah, those are the people who that's that's why they say leave politics out of it, because it gets so convoluted and then it just turns into an argument immediately. And that's why a lot of people stray away or stay away from politics, because you don't know what the real intentions are for a political view or something that's being said. So that's why we have to separate the two. And those critics should separate the two as well. We're talking about political posturing and movements versus actual human emotion. If this guy leaves the Congress tomorrow and just becomes a citizen, then we don't look at political views. That's why I say it's Social Dig. We don't care what side you're from, what walk of life you're from. You come in as a human being. You leave all that stuff at the door, and that's how we should be looking at Tim Burchett. Separate the politics from actual human emotion, and it's obvious that somewhere in there he cares about humanity.
100%. It's a bipartisan topic. Everyone's agreeing on it. Let's focus on the issues.
There you go.
And I hope that can come true. I really do. All right, Tim, what do you got for us next?
So the House Oversight hearing on UAPs has been scheduled for July 26th. And so representatives have come forward to confirm that. And so Representative Luna has also confirmed that this will take place on the 26th. And both Burchett and Luna have been assigned to take the lead on that UFO investigational hearing. So Congress wants to investigate UFOs after the claims made by David Grush, and part of the oversight committee that have been put together will be working on that exact topic. And half of this at least will be arranged hearings on the topic of what was brought up by some of the admissions brought forward by David Grush. And so it does look like there will be other people that will be coming forward at that time as well. Although the people that came forward to talk on this were not willing to give any of those names publicly at this time. So it does look like John Kirby, the National Security Council's coordinator for strategic communications for the White House, also said that UAPs have been considered a legitimate issue for the Biden administration, and in a quote says that we wouldn't have stood up an organization at the Pentagon to analyze and try to collect and coordinate the way these sightings are reported if we didn't take it seriously. So, of course, we do. And so that's kind of good news. It's just that those are the kinds of things that we need to hear publicly, because usually we get a Speaker of the House or somebody that's representing publicly just shrugging it off or having reporters laugh on this topic when it's brought forward in some of the public hearings that we're getting with some of the press. So it's good that they're going to be analyzing some of the data that's been brought forward. And I say data publicly, we didn't get any of it, but behind closed doors, there is supposedly some data that is going to be looked at, and then we'll get the public portion of that hearing here on the 26th. So good news there that we're getting another hearing. I know that we shouldn't expect too much on the public side, but the little bits that we do get will hopefully move this topic forward in a way, at least, that we're getting some more transparency, and hopefully we get firsthand witnesses this time and not more hearsay.
Once again, I hope, if I put my positivity hat on here, I think this is the biggest chance that we're going to get for the next while regarding true information. Burchett wants the information. He's convinced that Luna wants the information too. And just like we just talked about moments ago, I think this is the biggest one to date. We know that Senator Gillibrand did her best. She got nothing out of Sean Kirkpatrick, except an update on how many reports there were. There's just so much, I really hope they come out firing. But the question is, Who are they coming out firing to? Who do they fire up? So if they get a bunch of whistleblowers in there just telling a bunch of anecdotal stories, is that enough?
Yeah, I mean, I think those are the stories they need to hear, though. I mean, the first couple hearings, you bring in guys from the DOD, you bring in Kirkpatrick. These are the guys you want to ask questions to. These are the guys that have the least reason to want to give up any information. It's not in their concern how everyone else feels or benefits from this. So, being that this will be the first one that involves actual whistleblowers, I think we'll get something that looked a little more like what we saw with the citizens hearing for UFO discovery or whatever that was in 2013 at the National Press Club, the thing Stephen Bassett put on. When you watch that, you saw essentially people from within the government who retired, who had information on things that they saw, and how riveting that was. Those the stories that were being told in front of Congress or former Congress. I think that this would probably have the same effect. So every hearing that we have needs to be whistleblower testimony going forward.
Yeah. Representative Anna Paulina Luna from Florida has two goals for the House hearing into UFOs. And she's scheduled to co-chair that, obviously, this the 26th. And in a quote, she says, "So what we're focusing on is, one, getting the information out to the American people that clearly this is a big galaxy that we live in, and there is very likely technology that we are unaware of and where it's from. And so does this pose a national security threat? And number two, hang on one moment. Number two, it's important that instead of trying to make this conspiratorial and poo-pooing it, the people are actually understanding that it's very likely that there are other life forms out there and that we're not alone in this universe and that we can address these things with scientific mindset." So when you hear something like this coming from a representative on leading this committee, do you feel that potentially she already has her mind made up and that she's very driven potentially? Maybe she's had an experience that made her believe this topic a little bit more than everyone else. But hearing her talk this way, do you feel like it's going to help this topic or potentially hurt it because there are people that are hearing her talk this way before she's heard evidence?
That's a good question.
That with 2 minutes to go here, that is a very deep question, Tim. Very deep. See, the thing is, for me, Congressperson Luna has come out of nowhere to now be a part of this conversation. Do we have to restart and fill this person in on everything now? Or does Luna already have that information and is now jumping on board to give a crutches of support for Tim Burchett? This is what I don't know.
Right. And we've seen how public hearings have gone in the past, and it was with somebody that was very much skeptical and uninformed. And if now we're having someone very much on the other side, non-skeptical, but still potentially uninformed, we don't know. Even if they're informed, that's leading the path in a similarly not helpful way. I feel that there needs to be an element of neutrality on this topic. And yes, I like that she's bringing up the fact that science needs to be the mindset, but at the same rate, we can't assume that these things are coming from somewhere else. We can't even assume that there are things because we have yet to see them. So let's start back at the beginning before we address this as being something that exists. Let's make sure it exists, and then we can talk about it in a real way. I think that this is jumping the gun. And I hope that we come up with the evidence at some point so that we can sit back and hit cruise control.
Great point. I agree with Tim Senor.
Well,
Sorry. That kind of was a period at the end there, but I would love to get your thoughts, because we've seen them really drop the ball in the past with these public hearings. Do you think that we're going to be ill prepared again, or do you think that this is going to go better?
Well, I think it's going to go better, but you make a great point, saying that we still need some neutrality in there. But I think what we're going to find out is, like I was saying earlier, people in the government, these are human beings too. So these people have their own experiences, and I think that's going to be the game changer when you have those people, the ones that have experienced things, coming out saying, "Hey, not only am I pushing for this, but I had an experience myself." And then I think that's when things are going to really start rolling, and when you get that ball rolling down the hill.
That's a great point. And what if Lou Elizondo came forward as a whistleblower or a witness and admitted he was an experiencer in public hearing? I mean, that would be kind of the bombshell, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
huge bombshell. Gentlemen, thank you. We're going to wrap up the UFO report tonight. Tim Senor, little Robbie G coming on in. Appreciate both of you for making this an incredible show tonight. Thank you so much, my man.
Thank you.
Then on that note, I'm going to start to wrap this thing up, because it is that time where we say, we got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god of self. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, Elga, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. Having troubles breathing out of my nose tonight. I was sucking for oxygen all night.
Too much hockey. Too much hockey. That's what that is.
I can crack this.
Do not crack your nose. Dave, this
Hold
is
on.
radio. You can't crack your nose. Ay. So, I know,
God, that freaking hurts.
all right, don't do it on the microphone, you nutbag. But
Well, I did
it's really
move it.
late, and I didn't want to keep Mateo up anymore, but I did want to ask you guys, since we're off air now, very
Well,
briefly.
Well, I mean, we're off
We're on YouTube.
on YouTube.
Yeah. The rumor / news that FBI military are organizing raids on black sites, or strike teams, if you will. Literally, I think the quote was strike teams, to discover potential black program objects, metamaterials, that sort of thing. Have you heard of this? Am I the only one?
I have
Haven't
not
heard of it. But it needs to happen. This is exactly what they need to do.
It's just a rumor.
Oh, it's just a rumor.
Well,
I
at
hope
this
they're doing
point,
it.
I mean, I haven't got it from any news source. I don't think it's going to come through a news source, but it is something that
Yeah.
has been, I think that it was spoken about on a couple of shows, at least on Disclosure Tonight. I know they brought it up, but I'd heard it somewhere else other than there as well. So interesting stuff. If that's happening, that's a pretty big move, right? Because I know that Ross Coulthart had brought up the fact that, or at least he had said that for them to try and hide anything would be not only impossible, but futile. And so, I think he even called them out quite aggressively at that point. But we're starting to hear that maybe they're going to force their hand and just go in and do some self-discovery. What would you think of that?
Well, I think I said that either here on Friday or on the Social Dig, that that's how they're going to have to serve something similar to a search warrant on these sites, because they're going to have way too much time to hide this stuff if they don't. So hopefully that information that you heard comes from a place of truth, because I feel like it should be probably true, because how else are they going to get the evidence before they put it away? So that leans to the credibility of that statement.
Yeah, I had a couple more stories for tonight, but there's one that's really brief that if Dave has literally a minute, it would only take a minute. And I know he's probably got stuff to do.
No, go ahead.
It's okay. All right. So Ireland is getting in the game of UAP research, and they have X files of their own that they are wanting to talk about. And so it looks like there has been some confusion in Ireland over some of the recent announcements made by the US government concerning whether UFOs are real or not. And although there's what they're calling strange footage released by the US military, they still have plenty of sightings of their own that they felt were credible enough to have what they're calling the Irish X-Files. And so an email was forwarded to the Department of Defense, which responded to some questions suited from the Irish Aviation Authority. And it was sent on to the Aviation Services, a division of the Department of Transport. And within these communications, they were talking about security concerns and some of the recent information that was made available through Freedom of Information Acts here in this country, and some of their Department of Transport official documents and historical documents. So they say they were wondering why Aviation Services Division had been forced to take up all of these files, and they didn't recommend that any action was to be taken place. So once the United States started to become more public with the fact that they were taking and paying very serious attention to it, Ireland decided that they should dig into some of their files and see if any of the mysterious reports offered any credibility to what we're seeing today. And so they referred to a few of the most credible cases, some of them from mysterious lights to actual craft. And so after reviewing all of these files, they decided that back in 2019, they would go ahead and put together what they were calling an embassy for extraterrestrials, which they would set up to ensure that if any contact with off-world civilizations ever happened, they would set up an agreed diplomatic framework, which I think is very interesting and very progressive. And so they had plenty of reports through the 80s to refer to, and they went back to as far as 1962. Now, they did consider some of the reports to be just meteors, but a lot of, and Chinese lanterns and such, but a lot of them did end up being credible. And so what they've ended up doing is putting together through the Department of Transport, they have put together, and I'm looking for the name of it. Oh, here it is. The documents that have been released through a committee on public petitions is considering a proposal to establish what they're calling, quote, Project Morrigan, which is an initiative to make Ireland a world leader in the scientific study for UAPs. And that would initiate a collective of scientists and technology to look deeply into the topic. So, what are your thoughts with a country like Ireland stepping up to the plate and digging up historical reports to kind of provide enough reason to put together a scientific collection or a coalition?
It's actually pretty awesome. We did on St. Patrick's Day. We had Greg O'Brien on the show, and we covered some of the stuff, the sightings in Ireland, and they actually, there was one of the points that we made is that it's great that we're seeing a lot more of these countries that weren't as involved in the conversation beginning to get involved. And apparently, I was looking up my old notes from that show. The UFO sighting reports on the Police Service of Northern Ireland, or PSNI database, is where they have information including unidentified flying objects, aerial phenomenon, lights in the sky, and aliens and extraterrestrials. So I think that might be the database that they're referring to. But it's great. It's great to see them opening up, and hopefully other countries who have been standoffish follow suit. And that's that wave that we were talking about, the momentum and the opening up, the globalization of the fact that we have something crazy going on here that we need to talk about.
Yeah, it's not just bipartisan in our country, it's global. And the
Yeah,
fact is that you don't have to be a world leader either to make a decision to do this, right?
exactly.
Small countries, large countries, I think we're all equally affected. And so getting together a coalition of like-minded people to research it, I think that's the way to do it. So this is great. I totally support Project Morgan and any small or large group that decides to get in on this topic and bring some kind of scientific organization. If you can dig into historical files, bring that forward. I think we're seeing a big movement, a big movement of people that are like-minded, that are moving to prove it, looking for that proof.
Yeah, it goes back to the poll that we were talking about earlier, with 57% of public being polled. That was just here in the United States. But if you look globally, if you took the same poll, I think you'll find similar numbers, if not even better numbers than that, showing that most people in this world understand or hip to the fact that there is something going on, there's something being hidden that we need to uncover. And that's what I mean. You would think it would be, well, I guess what makes it easier is the fact that we have the ability to pass information through things like social media, and it's like the one thing that kind of meeting place that unites us globally. So shout out to social media for being able to get this to spread across the globe.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Dave,
Yeah.
it's been fun. Thanks for staying up later. And Rob, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah. You know it. I hope to have you soon.
Yeah, and you will. You absolutely will when the dust settles. But it's so great to see you. Let's talk again soon. We'll probably talk in a day or two, as we usually
Probably.
do. And
Yep.
so thank you very much, chat, and everyone, for all your support. And I will see you all very soon. Have an awesome
Take care,
night.
okay?
Okay.
Sleep well.
Boop. There you go. Okay. So yeah, Dave, it was great, great getting with you today. I enjoyed the conversation. Great questions, and yeah. So I guess I can leave you be too if you like. You can get down to shutting the show down.
I'm just doing the editing here for the show, so that's all I'm whipping through right now. And I was going to
Okay.
take a mini break here in about 30 seconds.
Okay.
But want to stick around until the bottom of the hour,
Yeah.
that's cool too. Because
No, I'm here. I would be like I say, I would be in the chat right now chatting anyway. So, yeah, shout out to the chat too. Thank you guys for coming through.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to pass you the conch, and I'm going to go for a bathroom break. I'll be right
Okay.
back.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, chat, for coming through. You guys were great today. Thanks for being interactive. Appreciate all the new subscribers that we have over at the Social Dig too. I noticed numbers went up, and I saw people in the chat saying they subscribed, so I totally appreciate that. It's a family thing. Hope to see you guys over there. We have this new thing that we're doing with our live chatters too. Or not really a segment, but just an addition to the show where we say "Ask the Chat." So when you're watching the show, we will pose different questions during the live stream and on team replays. Really, 2 or 3 questions that we like to have the chat interact with, and so you'll hear something similar to this.
Ask the chat.
When you hear that on our show, that means that we're looking to get some answers from the chat, some participation, and that's kind of one of the things that we do to kind of integrate our live chat into the show. We also have a call-in line as well. So we have, it's a message line where you can leave a message that we will take, regarding the topic or your experience in general. You would call the number, leave the message, and then on the upcoming show, we would go ahead and play those messages on the show where you get to talk about your experience. Also, we have the same number, which is a live line, so we can open it up for live calls as well. So yeah, we're looking to get the live chat, cracking like we got it over here, and then we can open up that live line and just have people come on and talk about their experience or their opinion on a specific topic or a specific news story that we may have spoke about, and kind of make it an all-inclusive, organic sort of situation. As one of the things, our motto, actually, one of the taglines for the Social Dig is "Come join the conversation," and that's exactly what we would like for you guys to do. So, once again, I appreciate everybody who went ahead and subbed. Oh, Chinchillin, just sub. Appreciate you. Totally appreciate you. We have some really good shows. Also, I just want to talk about some of the guests that we've had. Obviously, we've had Mr. Tim Senor, where he talks about his sighting and how it affected him and his family. Awesome interview. We have Tim Senor and Tom King on the show that we did around Skywatching 101, where they actually show you the best budget setup to begin skywatching, and also Tim lays out all the gear that he has, psionics cameras. Tom King shows you the high-tech camera array that he has mounted to his the roof of his house, where he's able to track these UFOs in the sky all day. We did an awesome interview with a guy who was on the non-skeptical side of ufology, but is now turned a little more skeptical, and he was former host of Unidentified Celebrity Review, or UCR, and currently Lou Reviews, Mr. Lou Jimenez. We have a conversation, a really deep conversation, and where he's taking a skeptical approach to everything that's been reported, and I'm just trying to open his mind up, like, hey, how else can we look at this? Is there a different way that we could look at this? So that's a great interview. And we did Mr. Preston Dennett, legend in ufology. We had Preston Dennett on. Excellent interview, where we go over, a lot of the books. The man has, I want to say, over 30 books that have been on a lot of them on the bestseller list. So Dolly Saffron comes in as well. We talked to Dolly for a little bit. And yeah. So we're looking to interview lot more people in the future, and that's just a little sample of what you can already take advantage of by going over to the Social Dig. So if you're up after the show tonight, a lot of good watching over there, and we'll have some excellent shows coming up as well. Working on a few right now, so kind of where that is. And let me see. Yeah. Preston and Dolly, thumbs up. Izzy bet, that's right. Preston is, he's a treasure trove of UFO facts, historical facts, and has a long list of sightings. And he's just a good guy in general, truthfully. And yeah, so excellent. One day I'll have Dave Scott on the show, and once I get Dave in there, we're going to find out. We're going to talk to Dave. We're going to talk to Dave, and I'm going to ask some of those, questions about how Dave, what was Dave like as a child? What was the young Dave like, and how did Dave get introduced? I'm sure he's talked about it here, but we're gonna really find out. Thank you, Dogface. Appreciate you putting that in the chat. That is the link to the channel. If you haven't subscribed, we would love to have you over there. Excellent stuff, man. Excellent stuff.
Hey, I want our audience to remember something here. Okay, before we go any further on this, I don't allow just anybody to post their shows in our room. This is one of the good guys right here. This is one of the good
Appreciate
dudes who's doing this for the right reason. And I have no problem saying that I would love for our subscribers to go on over to Rob G's Social Dig and pump up that channel. Because, like I said, this is one of the good guys that's out there trying to do the good work that we need done. And he's doing it for the right reasons and not selfish reasons or grifting reasons or anything along those lines. And so if you get an opportunity, go hit subscribe there and help us work it together, man.
You're awesome, Dave. You're a great dude, man, and really appreciate that. I'm so glad that is what comes across, because that is fully the intent of, and we say it every episode, we do this for you, the viewer, in the positive progression of humanity, and there's no other reason that we do this. That is exactly why. So I totally appreciate you pointing that out, Dave. And I say the same for you. Like I said, you're just you sometimes wear your heart on your sleeve, and it's that human side of you that a lot of the viewers connect to, and the reason why they support you the way that they do. And it has nothing to do with the cryptids, or even though they get to talk about their experiences, they're here for Dave Scott, the man, the human. So just kind of wanted to point that out too, and that's what drew me to you as well, just the human side of you. So I think we're like minds, man, as far as that goes, and we just need more of that out here in this space. We need more hosts to be that way. Without calling out names, I'm sure everybody knows it's a small circle, so I don't really have to do that. So, Cashew, thank you. Deal you Whoopoo, thank you very much for subbing. Appreciate you. We'll be seeing you soon. United we stand. Thank you very much.
What's your
Welcome to the show. Thank you.
Let's see. 148 subscribers. We need to get you up here. We need to start building this thing.
Yeah, probably. I appreciate it. I would love to have a nice live chat.
I'm going to go and put the Social Dig in our. That's what I'm going to do. Put it in our favorite channels as well. Where do I do that? I think I do it down here in settings. Community, is that where I do it? No. Where do I do it? Channel? No. That's not where I do it.
Thank you, O-Red's Toothbrush. Chinchillin. Let's do it. Skywatching. You got to check out. We have part 1 and part 2 with Tim Senor and Tom King. There's a lot of awesome gear. You wouldn't believe it.
Where do I do that now?
Thank you, Parababes. CS, thank you very much. Skip to Malou. Good night, Christine.
Where do I do that? Why isn't it on here?
Coley, I'm not sure why I wouldn't let you sub. I wish I knew. But even if you just stop by, we appreciate that. Cashew. Yeah, right. I mean, we try to have a schedule, but obviously, you know, with a larger base, we will be able to set more of a regular schedule. So I will say that. So we would love to go all the time, but we just want to make sure that we have people to join the conversation, you know, and I think we're going to kind of get there. So, you know, 10 people, we could talk with 10 people. Would love more, but yeah. So definitely. Thank you. Welcome to the show. Appreciate that. Just an honest guy, man. Just genuine dude, you know, talking from the heart. Okay, Cashew, for sure. Yeah. I want to go like maybe at least 3 times a week. Because it does take a lot to put the shows together. Because some of the topics that we touch. And the format, once you go over there, you'll see how we have the show formatted. So, yeah. Oh, thank you, the Debster, a.k.a. Debs, a.k.a. Deb from Sacramento, Sacktown, 916. Double Day Clements. Appreciate it. Thank you for subscribing, and I appreciate this, Dave. I really do. It's we you know we would like to have conversations with like-minded people, so I think these people get it. All right, CS. Have a great night.
I've put you into our run here. So you're in there now.
Now, Stargazer, you can go live with no subscribers. Yeah, you don't need 1,000 to go live. 1,000 subs is when I believe your channel monetizes. But yeah, you can go live with 0 subs with 1 sub.
Thank you, Major Lee. Appreciate that. Doubleday, how you doing, man?
Thank you, Parababes.
Good to see you. I like the Debster. I like
Debster.
that. What are you at now, buddy? Let's do a little social check here.
153.
153. Good.
Tony D, Project Serpo. I'm not really versed on that, but what I guarantee you is that I'll look into it and we'll cover it on the show for sure. I'm going to write that down.
What do we got tomorrow night on the show? Tomorrow night on the show, right? You may recognize her name from from our chat room. Beth Noyes is going to be here talking about her lifetime of alien encounters. So we are going to check in with her tomorrow night. Want to say a big thank you to Louie ×3, Deb, James, Bond, Gizmo, Amy, Dry Toast, Sinister, Ozzy Ange. My pen was running out. Charles, Parababes, Martimus, Area 51, CS, C-Tech, Kira, Mark, Anita, and Simon for the great super chats tonight, my friends. Thank you. If you haven't hit us up on social media, please do so. That would really, really help us out, help spread the word. Big Rob, I'm going to say goodnight to you.
Yes, sir. You have a great rest of your night as well, Dave.
Appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon, okay, bud?
All right. Tim
See you guys. Have a good night. I'm out.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.